We wanted to end this year with a bang and showcase some of our older ARG videos to get you guys excited for next year. We're very excited to announce that we're going back to classic stuff next year, so expect more internet mysteries. While we work out our plans and get things rolling, we wanted to relive some classics with you. As a disclaimer, these videos are older and some of the info is outdated, so please do not roast us in the comments if we got something horribly wrong. Without further ado, let's just get right into it.
Telling stories through the world of the internet has always been something that is very popular, especially scary ones. Creepypastas were, for years, some of the most infamous forms of internet horror storytelling, but more recently, there is now a new kind of storytelling that has become very popular, and that is ARGs. An ARG is a story that takes place in the real world and is fueled by viewer interaction. They usually are in video format or social media websites. We've even covered one before, and that was Meat Sleep. Like mentioned before, there is a multitude of ARGs throughout the internet, but out of all of them, Playground could possibly be the most fascinating. In May 26 of 2016, a YouTube channel by the name of The Remnants of Pl4ygrnd was created, along with a forum that we will get into more later. A day after the creation of the YouTube channel, the first video was released, titled The Remnants of Pl4ygrnd. This video is completely in text, and it basically explains that the owner of the channel, who was referred to as the protagonist, explained that he was once part of a diminutive internet group known as Pl4ygrnd. The group consisted of 5 people, and out of those 5 had camcorders, where they made videos that they would share around with each other. He goes on to explain that he was the one without the camcorder, and the rest of the group was unaware of his presence. He also says that what he saw, he never forgot. The group was active between the years of 1999 to 2003 before disbanding, and apparently he never heard anything from any of these members since. He goes on to say that he might be the only person in the world to have these files, and says the purpose of this channel is to share the things that he saw, but at the same time, he explains that some of these videos get so bad he can't even post them on YouTube. A couple days later, the first true video release, titled Scott01, in a description of each of these videos, there is a note that shows the original title name, just to give you an idea of when this video took place, and in this case, it's 2003. In this video, the man that is talking, who is Scott, basically introduced himself, explaining that he was a boys' soccer coach, implying that he no longer is one. Throughout the entire video, he seems to be in a very strange type of denial about the situation. Throughout this video, he sits in the bleachers and coaches a team that doesn't even exist.
Overlap and let's get this practice going! Okay, let's get a scrimmage going on here. The sun is going down. I'm telling the boys to come on in. Come on in, practice is over.
After that video, the channel didn't upload again for a full month, until a video titled Update Video 1 released. This video begins with protagonist thanking everybody for 70 subscribers before getting into the important stuff. He basically explains that he doesn't have all of the files in one place yet, since there were a lot of videos, and basically explains that this is in combination with his busy schedule, has held him back from releasing new videos. Normally none of this would matter, since we're 2 years past all of this, but the most important part of the video follows. He explains that to hold us over for the next video, he made a paste bin. In this paste bin, he explains some info about each member of the group. He explains that in the infancy of Pl4ygrnd, there was only member 1 and member 2. He states that member 1 was a very weird guy, but somewhere inside, he was a good person. Member 2, on the other hand, was not. He defines member 2 as being a morbid person and the most deprived of the group. He even refers to member 2 as the antagonist of the story. Down the line, members 3 and 4 came along, both recruited by member 1, and that was to be the permanent size of the group, meaning protagonist is obviously number 5. He ends the note saying that each member has a certain series, and that more videos are on the way. Later that month, the beginning of a new series was released, titled For Cameron. The original files show that this was the one from May of 2000, obviously making the series much older than the aforementioned Scott series. With the series being titled For Cameron, it is implied that the main character is not Cameron. This is shown because throughout this video, he basically reminisces on the memories he shared with Cameron. The way he talks about Cameron insinuates that Cameron has passed away.
This must be the grade he was talking about. That thing's covered up. Cameron, do you remember when we used to hide down there? It wasn't all overgrown. Do you remember? Down there we read comics and things.
The following video is the return to the Scott series. In the first video, Scott seemed to be in a strange type of denial about everything, going as far as coaching an imaginary game, but in this video, he seems deeply hurt from the firing of his job.
Am I allowed to get my ball back? These bleachers aren't as good as the ones over there. Just saying.
At the end of the video though, he says, "I deserve the coach, and I will be back."
I deserve to coach this team, and I will be back.
After that, there was another hiatus until September, where in the span of a week, Scott 3 and 4 came. Scott 3 starts off noticeably different than the last one. In the last Scott video, he was deeply hurt by him no longer being coach, but in this one, he seems really happy again.
Oh, the sand, it's like a beach. Oh my god.
He starts acting like he did in the first video again, all happy and in denial. For example, he coaches an imaginary team again.
Kick the ball. See, this is a good time. I get to sit here and watch the game going on.
But the video takes a very peculiar turn. He declares that he has a deal for the head manager that he just can't refuse.
I have a deal for him, and a deal he can't refuse. But you know, I have nothing against the guy.
What he means by that is unknown. He mentions something about not wanting to go to town, and at approximately 3 minutes into the video, some text appears on the ground saying, "I'm just a cool guy." This is incredibly odd because this video is supposed to be from 2003, where editors weren't as widespread as today. Another argument could be that the protagonist edited it in. But again, why would he even do that? He then starts talking to a manhole in what seems to be like a rehearsal for what he's going to say to the head manager about getting his job back.
Well, is there a deal? I have a deal I can propose to you if you want.
By far the strangest part of the video is the ending. Scott zooms in on a mask saying,
"My face,"
before the camera blacks out twice, with the video ending with him dropping it.
It's okay. Guys, you keep going on the game.
This mask is incredibly odd and actually becomes somewhat of a theme throughout the videos, and we will talk more on that later. Scott 4 came next, which is definitely the darkest and at the same time most intriguing video that is on the channel. For starters, the date is incredibly odd. The date of this video is 2004, even though the group disbanded in 2003. Again, we will discuss that later as the video in itself is exceptionally odd. The first full minute of the video is just Scott running around the field at night. Because it's so dark you can't exactly see why he's running or where he's going. A little bit after that, he turns on his flashlight revealing text in red that clearly says, "Death." About a minute after that, his hand appears and has blood all over it, and some other substance. A minute after that, he picks up a newspaper that was undoubtedly made by him, but the weirdest part is what it says. The newspaper says, "Award-winning coach let go after strange files found on hard drive." These are unquestionably the files that were shared around in Playground, the files that protagonist explained as being so bad he can't show some of them. Following the aforementioned events, we see another hand-drawn flyer that was probably also made by Scott. This flyer says, "We love you, Scott." The video then ends with Scott crying. Now what followed was a ginormous hiatus, but don't think nothing happened, because in reality, a ton of things happened on the forums. Right when the 4th Scott video came out, protagonist said not to get your hopes up on seeing the 5th one, but the biggest thing that happened during the hiatus was the emergence of a channel named Former Adolescents. A board was created by protagonist saying that he was a bully and overall terrible person, but his YouTube channel has some very interesting goods buried beneath the surface. The video that put him on the map was titled, "The Remnants of Pl4ygrnd is not a good channel." In this video, he goes on to explain that Pl4ygrnd should be stopped, and that it's not a good premise.
It's got lies. It's a bad channel. So I'm trying to prevent a bad channel. Not a very good.
Throughout his videos, he is using Windows XP, constantly writes numbers instead of letters, and always talks about Pl4ygrnd, and this means something. He is 100% connected in some way. Pay attention to his voice, and you'll notice he sounds a lot like the same person in the Cameron series.
This isn't right. Wow, this is going over really well.
And seems to be stuck in the same time period as well, with evidence of himself still using Windows XP, just finding out what Pokemon is, not knowing what an app store is, a video he made covering the hottest songs of 2003, and much more. When confronted by a commenter who said it is currently 2017, he replied with, "LOL, this guy isn't making any sense." There was also a 17-minute video called The Pl4ygrnd Rant, and this video is basically a Leafy parody and is instead talking about Pl4ygrnd. In this video, he says much of the same things he talked about in the first video, but the most interesting thing lies in the description. If you look in the description, you will see a paste bin. If you click the link, you will see a paste bin that says nothing at all except for Cameron with a question mark. Does this mean that former adolescence is the voice behind the Cameron videos? I would have to assume so. Why else would he sound so much like him and even know who Cameron is? Why would he be so mad at Pl4ygrnd posting videos of the group? Another thing that happened during the hiatus was another member of the group came out on the forum. His name is Sleep, and he had a very different attitude than the aforementioned former adolescents. Unlike former adolescents, he seems happy that Pl4ygrnd is spreading to the outside world, and is also a lot more open to talk than former. When asked if he was a member of a group, he said he was. Near the end of 2016, a forum called Don't Do It was posted. A guy whose username is Don't Do It posted a paragraph saying, "Don't listen to him, don't trust him, don't do it. I know you like talking about him, it isn't worth it, trust me, more people knew about this than he thinks. I posted a lot about it on forums back in the day, I even got a small following that kept tabs on my posting. Don't believe me? Just wait for the pig." Those were the worst. After the whole puzzle solving process, a few got really unlucky. Things were so different when everything was actually happening. Some got to see every last thing with their own eyes. Thank God I didn't. I wouldn't be here typing this if I did. That's why he's so evil. You have to understand. You have to. There's a reason number 5 calls him the antagonist. This is an incredibly strange post, but we will talk about it more later, as down the line it starts to make more sense. A month before Protagonist finally started uploading again, he put an update on the forum and some incredibly important things were on it. In this update, he answers a question we mentioned much earlier in the video, and says that why was the 4th Scott video set in 2004? He says that he isn't entirely sure, but he did come up with the theory. He thinks that Scott accidentally set his camera a year in the future, meaning all of his videos were really in 2002, and the 4th and presumably 5th took place in 2003. That being said, something way bigger was mentioned in the update. Over the months he was gone, he was talking to Sleep, who he confirmed to be member 3, and as it turns out, Protagonist was wrong about his presence being undetected. When he was there, secretly watching over each terrifying video that would be sent, the other members actually knew he was there, and they even allowed it out of some sick sort of pleasure that they had, a little spy to watch over these morbid videos that were sent around. He also mentions how former adolescence has constantly been harassing him, trying not to let the files get out. Despicable person, and calls him dangerous. This ongoing feud between the protagonist and former has led many people, including myself, to believe that former is member 2, the antagonist. Another thing to mention was the amount of series that got forum boards but were never released. Each series on the YouTube channel would get a forum board. For example, Scott and for Cameron would each have their own board, but when you look on the forum, there is at least 10 boards for different series that never saw the light of day. It only makes me wonder, what were they about? In July, the long-awaited return of videos came, the hiatus finally concluded, and the next video was For Cameron 2. If you remember in the last For Cameron video, he was essentially reminiscing on memories he shared with Cameron, but in this video, he seems to be in some sort of denial. Throughout the entirety of the video, he's waiting for Cameron, while constantly saying Cameron should be coming any minute now.
I'm just waiting here for Cameron. Just waiting for everybody here, you know. Got my old friend.
And of course, Cameron never shows up. This leads the other members slowly losing sanity. He starts cradling himself on the ground and his voice becomes squeakier.
Here, he's gonna be here any second. He's gonna be here any second. He's gonna be here any second. He's gonna be here any second.
Another very important thing to note is at one point in the video, he drops a pair of giant gloves on the ground. I have no clue what this means, but it reminds me of the mask in Scott 3. A month later, a new video came out, an intro to a new series called I Love You. On the forum, he states that this series in particular gets very dark, and he debated whether or not to even upload it. He says he hopes this series shows how evil and depraved some people can be, even if they have a friendly voice. As far as this video goes, not much actually happens, but there are a few things to note. For starters, this file shows that it was recorded in 1999, making it the oldest video yet. Another major thing to notice is, the character in this video wears a pig mask. This is definitely the pig mask that one post mentioned. The pig mask of the antagonist. If you listen to his voice, it sounds very familiar.
It's a friendly little place that I go, but I just wanted to test it out. See how it is, you know.
It sounds like the same person in the For Cameron series, which means it also sounds like Formal Adolescent. The wording he used in the forum post also stuck out to me. He mentioned that the series gets very dark, but the most important thing is the wording of evil and depraved. This is the exact wording he used when explaining member 2, the antagonist in the paste bin a very long time ago. If this is the same voice of former adolescents who has constantly harassed protagonist, I think it's safe to assume he is the dreaded antagonist, especially with the post saying the pig mask is the antagonist. About a month later, I Love You 2 was released. If you look at the original file, it's the only one on the YouTube channel without a date, as the original file says I Love You 2. Protagonist says this is normal, as half of the videos had dates and the other half didn't. Like the last I Love You video, not much actually happens again, but there is a few things worth noting. On the forum when this video was posted, he wonders how much footage is cut from the version he has compared to the one that was filmed. This is the only video with a clock on the side, which lets you know whenever there is a cut. There is a lot of cuts in this video, but since he really wasn't doing anything, I have no idea what would have been cut in the first place. The most notable thing in this video is that you can constantly hear the sounds of a little girl and her guardian playing in a nearby playground. Once he goes up to the playground they are at, he starts taping himself to it, and the little girl, who even gets into camera for a couple seconds, isn't even fazed by a kid wearing a pig mask taping himself to a playground. It's just really odd and something we probably won't get an answer to. But up to this point, the final video was released, at least so far as For Cameron 3. Unlike the aforementioned I Love You videos, this one has a surplus of things to talk about. The first minute of this video is him running around at night looking for Cameron. Around the 2-minute mark in the video, he looks at the sky and says it can't be night.
Oh no. It can't be night. It can't be night.
It's unknown what this means, but there's obviously a reason he said that. A little bit after that, he starts sprinting, as if after something. After he stops sprinting, he says,
No, I'm not ready.
As if he's talking to Cameron. The camera falls over and then starts slowly moving back and forth. After that, the camera cuts to a view of the sky, then a view of the woods, a few times before zooming in on the woods with a jarring noise, ending the video. For some reason, the night is important to Cameron, and with the jump scare zooming into the woods, it makes me suspect the woods has an unknown significance to the main character, and most likely Cameron as well. So as far as the video goes, that is all that has been uploaded thus far, but there are still many things to talk about, and a number of questions that are still burning in the brains of many people who have watched their videos, the largest of which is, what is the deal with the 5th Scott video? A post was made saying that every series has 5 videos, meaning Scott, For Cameron, I Love You, and the other series mentioned in the forums that were never released all had 5 videos. We got all the way up to Scott 4, but there were countless posts about how dark the 5th video was, and that's why he can't upload it. One post in particular was incredibly interesting. Someone asked what the deal is with the 5th Scott video, and that protagonist actually answered saying that horrible video will never see the light of day. But for those who are really curious, I will give you this. He sent a link of 3-second audio which basically just sounds like Scott groaning. There's a lot of other questions like, why did every series have 5 videos, and can't he release videos explaining in text rather than what's actually happening? He did say in the intro video that he would do that, but it never wound up happening. There was also a couple reoccurring themes throughout the entirety of these videos. For starters, with the videos being called Playground, every video is actually in a playground field. The Scott videos are all in a baseball field. In Pl4ygrnd you can see a basketball court, and I Love You is in a playground. There was also a theme of memory issues. Former adolescents still thinks it's 2003, and Scott is constantly on a baseball field even though he was a soccer coach. And there is a date screw up that Scott also had with the camera. I honestly have no idea what any of this means, but we could really use some help. Now I want to talk about everything we know about the members. Member 1 recruited every member, and unfortunately we don't have a clue who he could have been. All we know is that he was a really weird guy with a good heart. Member 2. The antagonist is the pigman who is almost certainly former adolescents, and most likely the voice in the Pl4ygrnd videos as well, as former adolescents had the pace been saying, Cameron? Member 3 is Sleep, who unlike the antagonist wants the videos to get out there and was open to talk to protagonist. Member 4 we literally know nothing about, and Member 5 is the protagonist. This file is definitely undetermined. While we did find out who more than half the members were, we never really learned that much about the series as a whole. There are still tons of questions floating about, and with the last video being uploaded almost a year ago, it is uncertain if we will ever get answers in the future. A smaller channel on the far reach of YouTube, Ryoma is probably the strangest and freakiest ARG I've ever seen and that we have ever covered. Usually with an ARG it spans from platforms like YouTube to Twitter to 4chan, but Ryoma actually stays within YouTube and tells its story perfectly for those who are willing to learn and listen. Ryoma is definitely different, and it seems to have ended with its last video being over 5 months ago, and since the channel only has like 20 videos, I'm going to run down each one and put together the story. On almost all of Ryoma's videos, there is a comment that says, "What's it like down there?" or a variation of that. The channel is definitely connected to Ryoma, but their videos are obsolete to the actual mystery. The first video is called My Dedication. It's a dirty house and it seems to be being searched by a man with the camera. If you have seen our Meat Sleep video, which you should definitely check out, may I add, you will see a similarity in the rundown and gross looking house. This video seems meaningless now, but we will get into it more later. Another big theme that starts in this video is religion, with the description being a direct quote from the Bible. This theme lasts until the end of the series. The second video is titled 0605 2005.avi. This video seems to take place on June 5th, 2005. The video consists of a man who is breathing heavily and is walking quite fast until something startles him and he breaks into a full-on sprint. The video ends with a black and white face with a loud noise. This face does show up later, but the significance is still unclear. The next video is titled Chair Art Demonstration. The video is basically just a chair with what seems to be a brick on it. Later in the video, screams are heard and then dirt is flung onto the leg of the chair with hedge clippers. When watching this video for the first time, I thought to myself, is that what his dedication is from the title of the first video? The brick seems to be his idol of some kind. The video that follows is called Exciting Announcement. This video is a huge step forward for the story of Ryoma. All it is a black screen with some narration. The audio was extremely hard to hear, but after speeding it up as fast as we could and listening for like 10 minutes, me and Jiff conclude that it says, "My plan to expand," says something about father, probably about church. "She found the earth in which I gave frightening things are very interesting things that people excite absolutely everyone." We all love excitement, if it's an exciting thing. Yeah, it basically makes no sense, but if you can figure out what it says, definitely let us know on either of our social medias or in the comments down below. We now move on to probably the most important video so far, called Hard Road 2. It is unclear as to where Hard Road 1 is, but if it's anywhere as unsettling as this video, I really don't care whether it's lost or not. This video is filled with religious symbols like I mentioned back in my dedication. Then the video takes a turn for the worst. It shows a man all chained up with a bucket on his head. A man with a machete seems to be torturing him. Maybe the man running in 05.avi is Buckethead, and maybe the man he's running from is Machete Man. These are our first big clues to the story of Ryoma. Now we have Hard Road 3, which is a direct sequel to Hard Road 2, as the name insists. This video starts with someone starting a fire, which is definitely Machete Man, and then a cross is set on fire in keeping with the religion theme, and then a man in a trash bag is crucified on the burning cross. And after the screams die down, the man in the bag is tossed into the river with a thud and a final scream. So Machete Man started the fire, and we can only assume that his victim is Buckethead, and he seems to have met his end. So far, the story seems to be about Buckethead in fear of Machete Man coming to get him until he finally catches up and Buckethead is crucified. The man running in 05.avi is most definitely Buckethead, running from Machete Man. And my dedication, if I interpreted it right, is Machete Man looking for something in his decrepit house, maybe a weapon to kill or hunt Buckethead. The video after Hard Road 3 is called The Fool's Almanac, and in this one we see a different perspective than just Buckethead and Machete Man. The video starts with the butt of a gun and a baggie of grass. I'm assuming the baggie of grass is supposed to represent marijuana, but it literally just looks like lawn trimmings. Then text flashes on the screen. It reads, "Jack is gone. The car turned over. I cannot. Oh God, Jack, no." But who is Jack? Is Jack Buckethead or another character we haven't met yet? Well, let's call Buckethead Jack from now on until something contradicts that. Well, this seems to be from Jack's friend's perspective, as he or she seems concerned about what happened to him and what happened to Jack's flipped over car. The next video, Nightwalker, at first glance seems to be a guitar playing over some blue lights, but after watching this video a few times and knowing mostly how ARGs work, I had to take a stretch on this. So in this video, it's Jack's friend, again, waiting for the police to finish investigating Jack's flipped over car. Well, Jack's friend plays a tune, possibly Jack's favorite song on his guitar. The police part comes from the moving blue lights, which are the flashlights, and sometimes you can hear static and talking coming from a radio. Cleaning Crew, the next video, is another direct sequel following Nightwalker. It is still the blue police light searching Jack's car. There's not much that expands on Nightwalker, but it is still an interesting entry. The next video, Audio Experimentation, is another short one that seems insignificant, with all it is heavy metal and a man leaving the house. This video might be our first glimpse at Machete Man in a rundown looking shed. There's not enough to really connect this to the overall story, but again, it is an interesting addition. The next video is titled Jack, which might make you assume that it's about Jack, but even after watching this 1,000 times, I still can't figure out who this is supposed to be. The video is set in the woods, and a man in white walks around until he collapses, looks at the camera, and then falls asleep or passes out. My theory on this video is that this is Jack after his car crashes. He leaves his car to find help in the deserted land and finally passes out with a lack of food and water, and then is approached by Machete Man. This will all make sense when I do a rundown later of what we've covered so far. The next video is titled Tuoma's Song, and it is one of the creepiest videos on this channel. The face seems to be almost zombie-like and eaten away on the left side, and the aforementioned song is unsettling too. The song is very Skyrim-esque with winds in the background. I'm going to take a huge leap and say the winds relate to the Jack video with him being in the cold, windy forest. But that's just a big jump. Story-wise, this video has really nothing to contribute except some creepy audio and imagery. The next video is called Announcement. An announcement for what? I don't know, but your guess is as good as mine. The video is quick, but it seems to show a body. This is undetermined, but if you look at it closely, it does resemble a body, possibly Jack's body fished out of the lake. Now the next video brings the story right back into the spotlight. The video marks the return of Jack with the bucket on his head and Machete Man full out playing the drums. The most interesting thing about this video is it shows someone chasing someone. If I knew any better, this was Machete Man's point of view of 05.avi. So now we have Jack's and Machete Man's point of view of their seemingly first encounter in the woods. The next video, 045, shows someone looking at a rundown house, and when entering it, it's only creepier and dustier on the inside. When it reaches its final seconds, the camera freeze frames and has a weird filter and noise to accompany the screen freeze. The bio reads, "Up the mountain and down the hill, there lies a house as silent as still. Quietly he crept in within the dark hour, from crib to casket locked in a glower." I'm not quite sure where this poem of sorts comes from, but this time it surely isn't from the Bible. In the next video titled Walk, we see the return of the blue police lights and not much else, but it is nice to see the blue flashlights glow return. Perseverance is the following video, and it really adds more to the story. It shows movement, but it's unclear what kind of movement. It seems to be a stabbing motion if you speed it up. It is also coated in a strange red filter throughout. Distorted screams can also be heard, but you can hear a loud yell that sounds like someone saying, "Hail Satan." This is definitely a video of Machete Man stabbing someone. Maybe Jack. It is unclear as to who. Scars in My Head is the next video. This one returns with the red filter in the forest, and in this video we actually get to see an outsider's perspective to O5.AVI, and actually get to watch both Jack and Machete Man run out of the forest. So far what we piece together is that Jack's car crash in the snowy woods. While he went to go look for help, he passes out and is awoken by a strange man in the woods. When the man notices Jack walking away from the place, Machete Man sprints after him, which also leads Jack into a full-on dash for his life. Unfortunately, Jack is caught, and after being tortured with a bucket over his head, he is crucified on a burning cross and finally killed by Machete Man. Now all of that is what me and Jiff have pieced together from the videos and clues we've seen so far. The next video, Servant to the King, is back with the religion theme right in the title, and it seems the blue flashlight police are back and possibly getting closer to Machete Man and Jack's corpse. Another pretty lackluster video, To My Children. It seems as it's just an overhead view of a bucket, but even that I'm unsure of. The Gateway is the next big storyline jump for Ryoma. It takes place in an unknown basement or abandoned underground something, but the name The Gateway and what's inside this place are the most interesting thing about this video. The name seems like it means more than Ryoma want you to know. The name of the video definitely has something to do with the gateway to hell, as when whoever is behind the camera enters, there is a slew of crazy occult symbols like devils and pentagrams made with spray paint, and also Nosferatu. But still, it's a mystery as to who is behind the camera. If I could theorize and make a jump, I would have to say it's Machete Man. Maybe he killed Jack as a part of a ritual or to be accepted into a cult, being that the way he killed Jack was in a very biblical way, representing Jack as Jesus and Machete Man as the devil. Also, this could be the "what's it like down there" comment means. He could very well be referring to hell and the place that Machete Man is in. The next video, titled Relaxed, is another empty video that just shows the dark night sky and the constellation the Little Dipper. If you can connect this to the story, be my guest in the comments. See Him follows Relax, and it is a strange one indeed. It shows a man with a sack on his face, curled up swaying with a guitar riff on the background. At first glance, I automatically saw this man as Jack, but after thinking about it, it is definitely Machete Man, maybe going insane or feeling bad for what he did to Jack. Either theory, I'm 100% sure it is Machete Man. Another video with the date O3.AVI. This video has Morse code in it, and without a very helpful comment on the video, we probably would have never figured this out. The comment says the Morse code translate to, "The humans will pay for what they have done." This could easily be Machete Man's ramblings, but I also interpreted it as maybe Satan contacting Machete Man and telling him what to do, or maybe if Machete Man is part of a cult, it's part of their chant, but that's highly unlikely. I see it as Machete Man going insane and hearing Satan's voice. After O3.AVI, we have a video called Beloved Daughter. This video takes place in a forest, and the commenter who usually leaves the "what's it like down there" comments. But in this one they say, "I bet you miss it," in the mound. It sounds like he's referring to the dead, and if the title means anything, maybe Machete Man lost his beloved daughter, went crazy and found Jack in the woods while Machete Man was fully consumed by grief, and Jack was caught at the wrong place at the worst time. In the next video, ER555, we return back to the red filter. Whether it takes place in a forest or not is unclear, as the camera jolts and shakes the whole time until it ends. The most important thing to the story in this video is the description. It reads, "I am so lonely, I miss my daughter." It is now very clear that Machete Man has lost his daughter. Maiden of Faith takes us back into the woods, and it is accompanied by cloudy and pretty much unreadable text, but another commenter comes in and saves the day. The text actually reads, "The Maiden of Faith waits, Kobayashi 1985, and we see another cross in this video on fire. I do not think it is actually another crucifixion because I don't see anyone on the cross. Also, I did a lot of digging to see what the video means by Kobayashi 1985, but it means nothing significant. The only thing to happen in 1985 that concerned anyone named Kobayashi was a boxing match, and it has nothing to do with the story of Ryoma. Again, if you have any idea what it could mean, definitely tell us in the comments. Masato Repent is the third to last video on Ryoma. It's a 9-second garbled mess, but it does have some interesting text. It reads, "Your pain, your smile, your comfort, your lies." This is also leaving me baffled. I have no idea who this is directed to or who's saying it. The second to last video, S. Riku, is also in a forest or a garden, but the most interesting thing about this video is the stone baby face. Maybe this represents Machete Man's daughter, but it is never specified how old she was when he lost her. The name of the video, S. Riku, was also the name of a gang in Japan that would perform gas attacks in the subways of Japan. It's disturbing, but it really has nothing to do with the Ryoma story. The final video, I Am Lost, is another glitchy and confusing mess. Japanese is heard throughout, and it says, "Do you like me?" in Japanese over and over again. Maybe this is Machete Man talking to the cult leaders or to his dead daughter. A lot of these final videos are unclear, but I'm going to do a full story breakdown right now. Machete Man has lost his daughter. Consumed by grief and literally losing his mind, he contacts a cult or turns to Satanism after his hatred of God for taking away his daughter. The cult or Satan says that to redeem himself, he needs to perform a crucifixion, and at the same time, a man by the name of Jack is driving down a snowy road when all of a sudden, his car slips, crashes, and flips over. Jack is fortunately unharmed, so he leaves his car to seek shelter or find a police station. While he is wandering around, he finally collapses and passes out in the forest. He's awoken by someone lurking around in the woods, and when Jack becomes fully conscious, he sees a man with an axe. In a hurry to get out of the woods and in a paranoid state, Jack starts to speedwalk quietly away from the man with the axe, who we know as Machete Man. When Machete Man notices Jack, he starts to run after him. Scared and confused, Jack starts to run as fast as he can, but it was enough as he was captured by Machete Man. Jack had a bucket placed over his head and tortured until Machete Man was ready for the crucifixion. While all this was happening, Jack's concerned friend finds his car and contacts the police. They get very close, and even if they found Machete Man, it would have already been too late. When the crucifixion was ready, Jack was burned at the stake and thrown into the river. Machete Man goes down there, as that creepy commenter suggests, to contact Satan or speak to the other cult members. When he realizes what he has done, Machete Man loses his mind and aimlessly wanders the forest searching for his daughter, as Satan or the cult promised she would return when he crucified someone. This is all how I interpreted the story of Ryoma. After watching their videos multiple times and doing a lot of research and trying to put the story together, as with most ARGs, it's tough to get a final answer, but I think we debunked it good enough to call this file undetermined. Hopefully I'm Lost isn't Ryoma's final video, and we finally get the answers we want. We covered Ryoma a few months ago and thought we had a good understanding of the actual story, but once Jiff got into Ryoma's livestream, we found out how wrong we actually were. Many questions were asked as the livestream was a Q&A, and I'm going to go over the most important and integral questions and answers we received. The most important question, who or what is Ryoma? Well, we got an official answer for that. Ryoma is part of a company called Yamaguchi Lilywhite Corporation. Ryoma released 2 videos after we made our video on them, and one of them was named Lilywhite, so I'm assuming this is what that meant. Ryoma explains that the organization is, and I quote, an organization dedicated for the purpose of capture, analysis, justice, and progression in the field of humanity. When Jiff had first sent me the screenshot, shivers went down my memory chip. What could this mean? Capture meaning kidnap definitely, but analysis on what? Justice for who? And it says for humanity, so it must have something to do with human experimentation of some sorts. Ryoma also goes on to confirm that they in fact work for the organization and are the founder of the organization. Their name is Yamaguchi Ryoma, so me calling them that is correct. That actually is their name and not just their YouTube profile handle. Jiff asked Ryoma what their videos are actually about, and about how there was someone burning in their videos, whom we call Jack, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Jiff suggests it's about a sacrifice, but Ryoma indeed retorts with the creepiest answer possible. We do not take responsibility for the injuries caused by the workers of Yamaguchi Lilywhite Corporation. So it seems our pal Machete Man, in fact, is an employee of Ryoma's, making this all the more unsettling. Ryoma also explains how the burning cross was not actually relevant to the company, and it seems that our machete man was just a sick dude trying to earn his keep. Another strange thing about Ryoma is their profile picture. Once it was only black, but now it is a strange black and white, undead looking face. Well, someone in the live was wondering the exact same thing we were. Who is it in the picture? Well, Ryoma was happy to let us know that the identity of the face will remain anonymous until further notice, and after backwards image searching said image, we found nothing. After going through a few questions, it's easy to notice most people want the truth, and Ryoma is not keen on providing us with any, only giving vague, skin-crawling answers. Jif asked a major question: who was the child that had died or went missing in the last video? We theorized it was Machete Man's daughter, but Ryoma confirms something huge. They have a daughter and that she might be dead. So is it safe to say that Machete Man is actually Yamaguchi Ryoma? I wouldn't say that just yet, but these questions will reveal more. One of the strangest videos on Ryoma is Tuoma's song, which really stumped us in the previous video. Ryoma helps us out once again by revealing that Tuoma was a boy that they worked alongside. Work being past tense. Did he leave? Did he die? I feel like a corporation as secretive and reclusive as Yamaguchi Lilywhite wouldn't just let an employee or a helper just go. I have a reach theory that Tuoma might actually be Jack, and Machete Man is Ryoma. Tuoma escaped the organization, and Ryoma went after him, but again, this is just a reach theory that holds only little evidence. Of course, Ryoma was bombarded with questions after questions about Jack, with no answers at all. Someone in the chat decided to ask if Jack spelled J*CK to see if the word was in fact block, and Ryoma said, "Don't mention that, I will not elaborate." No, in the screenshots I have it doesn't show how this question came up, but Ryoma talks about people called Nightwalkers, who according to them were early employees of Yamaguchi Lilywhite. Jif of course questioned what these Nightwalkers did, and Ryoma again with the freakiest answer ever, lets us know they were selected. And they were also handlers of some kind. Maybe they handled the experiments or like the after effects of the humans. Also, selected makes it seem even worse, like they themselves were taken by Yamaguchi Lilywhite and brainwashed to do their own work. One of the stranger and earliest videos on Ryoma is called Chair Art Demonstration, and when Jif asked about that, you can count on Ryoma to give us another half answer. It portrays a holding cell out of use. God, I can only imagine the poor guy who had to suffer in there when it was in use. Very exciting announcement was also another very puzzling video with all sorts of distorted audio that was very hard to make out. When asked about this video in particular, Ryoma explains it was their dying father explaining the state of their channel, and apparently he died shortly after. When Jif asked what he said specifically, all that was said was, exciting things. 045 The House was a rather mundane video compared to Ryoma's others, but that didn't stop it from being brought up. Someone asked for an explanation, and Ryoma let us know it's footage from someone that was trying to find them. I think it's strange to know that there are people who know it exists and seemingly want it to stop as well. Of course, we were brought up. Not just as actually being there, but a fan brought us up. Thank you at Anorak Trend. They asked if they had seen our original Ryoma video, and Ryoma said yes, they had seen we had left a comment, so I'm not too sure if they've seen it, but they do know we exist and that we are very interested in the Yamaguchi Lilywhite Corporation. A question about why the livestream was being held was brought up. A great question that should have been asked earlier in my opinion. Ryoma says they realize they have fans and want to answer and interact with fans is beneficial, but it seems they don't want to give away too much in case to alert anyone that might not want their company still functional. The gateway was the weird link to those strange comments. What's it like down there? Which after all held no meaning and was just someone playing around. The gateway in question was a video about a strange underground basement thing with graffiti and rust everywhere. When asked about this video in question, Ryoma talked very openly and nonchalant with this one specifically. Ryoma said the gateway was where they had done many overseas operations. Overseas where? Yamaguchi Lilywhite lies in Japan, so overseas could mean anywhere, but the most chilling part comes from this expansion on the first answer. I cannot disclose the details of the experiments conducted in the gateway, the activities that took place, or the parent company of my current organization. So first of all, the human experiment mini-theory was correct. Second, the activities. Did more go on in the gateway than other experiments? And third of all, parent company. So there's a whole other company related to Yamaguchi Lilywhite, and that holds the same work and values. God, and I thought one was an unsettling thought. Something obvious with all this experiments and kidnap that you would figure people were being harmed, but a question, have you ever hurt someone as part of your job? And of course, Ryoma gives a Ryoma signature answer. Pain is a necessary part of humanity, and is always involved in the safety of others. Gives me the chills every time. I mean, I guess it was figured that harmful stuff does go on, but the way it was worded, and almost justified, is just scary. See Him was the video with who we thought was Machete Man with a sack over his head, and when Jiff asked about who it actually was, Ryoma let us know that whomever it is isn't relevant anymore, and that they got rid of him. So the characters that we made up for this, like Jack and Machete Man, are starting to fall apart, and the mystery is just getting harder and harder to figure out now that we have more information, something only Ryoma could do. A great question was, why does Yamaguchi Lilywhite Corporation do what it does? Well, according to Ryoma, we are the advancement of what is achievable by the human body. Its form is limited. We believe it can be altered with other human bodies. So basically, Ryoma is performing human centipede type experiments and like mixing humans with other humans to enhance them. And God, the more we uncover, the freakier it gets. So that's all that was important in the screenshots of the Ryoma livestream. This live left more questions than we got answers, and hopefully we can piece together all of it and eventually make a final Ryoma video and debunk it once and for all, but it'll take some time for us to figure it all out. Ryoma is still undetermined and might even be a mystery. It's getting more confusing, but we will get to the bottom of the Yamaguchi Lilywhite Corporation.
Jordan Underneath was a channel that would review horror games, darker TV shows, basically anything that was dark. His videos garnered a solid fan base and were definitely great videos, but about a year and a half ago, he uploaded one skit type video. He was in front of a black background and there was a puppet he interacted with. It was peculiar, but still neat. Fans thought this was one-off skit and the reviews would be back, but they weren't. He made 3 more of these skit videos until he disappeared from them entirely, leaving only the dolls there, and that is when Jordan's house began. Calling this an ARG wouldn't be entirely correct. There's no audience interaction at all, but it still has elements of an ARG, being the story very hard to connect, with most people not being able to figure it out at all. These are incredibly high quality videos with him doing all the effects, puppet work, and sound design, all of which are absolutely top notch. But with all that being said, let's get into the videos. The first video is titled, That Place Over There. We weren't able to see what it has to do with the rest of the story in the greater scheme of things, but the most important thing in Jordan's videos is introduced right off the bat, and that is metaphors. Jordan is somebody that has been very open with his mental illnesses in the past, and these videos all explore them in some way. Pretty much every single video is a metaphor, and they are usually related to what he's feeling. The metaphor in this video is being forgotten. That place over there could be anything or anyone that gets forgotten. On the brighter side, another important thing is introduced in this first video, and that is dark comedy.
Like all things that were once living, they ultimately became replaced by emptiness.
Wait, what does that mean?
They died or something.
Oh.
During a serious video like this, having comedy in there is great, especially when it is genuinely funny like it is here. He's honestly one of the best at mixing horror and comedy that we have ever seen. Horror and comedy are usually mixed horribly, but Jordan shows how great it is when it's done right. The next video is titled Counting Sheep. Like the first video, this one isn't important on the overall plot, and the reason these first few aren't important is probably because he was still getting the feel for everything. But like the last video and pretty much every video, there is another metaphor. In this video, we see a teacher trying to teach these 3 creatures the best way to fall asleep, and that is counting sheep. When they start counting sheep, the video goes berserk. I saw this video as Jordan and others with mental illnesses, rendering them sleepless at night, so as a result they try counting sheep in an attempt to hopefully fall asleep, and when it doesn't work, they go crazy and frustrated, which is why the video freaks out at the end. The next video is titled Happy Birthday Liam. This video begins with the creature ascending out of a box before text shows up. If you pause and read all the text, it is basically trying to help him, or the audience, or whoever Liam is,
get through whatever trouble they are in. As a side note, the name Liam is never ever mentioned again. I have no idea what that means. The following video is one of the absolute biggest and best videos on the entire channel. It is titled My House. Right off the bat, we are introduced to one of the most reoccurring characters in the series. He is nameless, but perhaps that's for the better. The video starts simple, with this monster introducing himself.
Hello. I hope you're having a wonderful, carefree, great day.
He also shows his house, and once you enter it, you will see that it is all black, with stolen random items all over the place. Not long after this, we cut to two young children that have clearly been kidnapped. They talk in fear for a little while until the purple monster butts in. He teases them for a little while before eating one of them.
Do you think our parents are looking for us? They're not looking for us. They're dead. No, they can't be dead.
They're dead, and we're never getting out of here.
There has to be a way we can escape. We have to be dreaming.
Be quiet, it's gonna hear you.
How come I never get to be part of conversation? Oh, are you trapped in a cage? Let me fix that for you.
Let me and my sister go.
Let you and your sister go? But that wouldn't make any sense. Everything in my house belongs to me.
The other escapes and quickly realizes that this house is endless. The way that person mentions how tiny she is compared to everything else makes me feel like Jordan feels this way about himself.
This place is endless. I feel like an insect. Or a speck of dust, floating through the endless dark.
Small, like a speck of dust. It's possible I'm wrong on that one, but it just seemed like oddly specific wording to me, and it really stood out. She goes on to say,
Sometimes I'll find a place where I think I'll be okay, but it never lasts.
this could also be something Jordan feels. The monster goes on to show where he goes to listen to music, culminating in one of the funniest moments in the series.
This is where I hang out when I want to hear some music. Let's hear some music. Wow, music sucks these days.
The video ends in an incredibly interesting way. This speech that the monster gives, it has to be how Jordan feels or felt at this time. I can't think of any other explanation for this.
When you're a strange individual, it may be easy to never leave your house. I never leave my house. I feel cold.
In fact, I think this entire monster is a personification of Jordan. Now, obviously Jordan doesn't eat children. Well, at least I hope he doesn't. The speeches and lines this monster gives are definitely from Jordan's heart. As far as the metaphor for this video goes, we could be reaching with this one. But the way we saw it, his house was a literal purgatory. This monster felt like he was in purgatory, so his entire house is purgatory. Black and never-ending. Following video is this tree, and it is a very interesting video indeed. It has nothing to do with the story, but this one is definitely about Jordan, or creators in general. It shows a pair of hands that just made a tree, an amazing creation, but they keep wanting to add more. As they do this, the tree progressively gets worse and worse, before he just destroys it for good. This is definitely a commentary on inventors and creators. They will make something, but they keep trying to make it better before destroying it. This could possibly apply to many YouTubers as well. Another pretty important video follows, titled, I'm Here to Help. It introduces a reoccurring character, this dinosaur. He's a psychologist who can't feel emotions.
Do you ever wake up in the morning and just feel so depressed you feel you can't get out of bed? I don't. But don't worry, I'm here to help. I am a reptilian creature from a faraway dimension who feels virtually no emotions. And it's because I feel no emotions that I have decided to become a therapist and dedicate my life to helping you feel better.
He thinks he is helping people, but because he can't feel, of course he doesn't, even if he thinks he does. However, the video does end with him feeling.
Well, I've had a pretty productive day. I got to experience a lot of emotions today.
This video, You're Beautiful, makes absolutely no sense right now, as it's just an underwater fish talking to you, but down the line it actually becomes incredibly important, so we're gonna have to explain this one later.
How did you get down here?
This next video is the longest and biggest video in the series. This Is My Girlfriend marks the return of the purple monster, who, like the title says, has a girlfriend. This is not just any girlfriend though. This monster's loneliness convinced him to create a monster from the items in his house.
It's a perfect day to spend some time with my girlfriend. This is my girlfriend.
The scariest of which is the girl that escaped him. These items all combine to form a girlfriend, but it doesn't move or talk or do anything. He just moves and talks with it as if it's actually living. After a while, he concludes that what he is doing is boring, which he then looks at the camera and asks,
Would you like to see some more girlfriends?
It then pans in on some more trapped creatures in a moment reminiscent of the last kidnapping scene. He interrupts them and snatches one.
Hey babe, you ready to go? Oh, I've so been looking forward to this.
Somewhere down the line, the monster leaves for a moment, prompting the kid to scramble away. Exactly like the last video, the kid mentions how endless this place is. And also, like the last time, the monster talks about his loneliness.
I feel lonely. I feel very lonely. I feel very lonely. I'll have to do something about this.
Towards the end of the video, the kid does eventually find a sink, and this is also where the monster finds him. The monster says not to fall down the drain, it's only a place for unwanted things. This is something I still do not understand. So if any of you have a theory about where this sink goes, please leave a comment below. The video ends with the monster throwing the boy into the sink, and then the monster silently goes off and messes with the popcorn. Alone. Nightwalk is a video that seems insignificant now, but it introduces a character that will be important later. I didn't find a metaphor or anything, the character was just doing exactly as the title says, for 30 seconds. The following video, This Is My Angry Face, returns to the purple doll one more time, and this one he just shows his angry face. That's it.
This is my angry face. I'm not myself when I have my angry face on.
This is one of the videos that we don't really understand the purpose of, so again, if you have any theories as to what this video means, please leave a comment below. Feel Good Today is the return of the dinosaur psychologist. After the end of the last one, he is now able to feel things. That's about all that happens in the video, but it got me thinking, is this dinosaur a metaphor for a psychologist Jordan saw? I'm not saying his psychologist had no emotions, but every single patient this dinosaur touches, he just doesn't understand them. Maybe Jordan feels that his psychologist didn't understand him at all. Come Here for a Second is a pretty short, meaningless video, but that does not mean it's bad. While it doesn't have anything to do with the story, I feel like Jordan was trying to test how good he was at building tension or something, and well, he was pretty damn good at it. This video was suspenseful, and it was great.
Just for a second. I need your help with something.
No, Earthy Boy. This is a huge video. It starts off with the boy we saw in the Nightwalk video, asking this furry creature for directions, where he then points to a building. The place he goes into also looks like the Nightwalk video, and since both videos had trees, I'm assuming he's just on Earth right now. If I'm right with the purgatory theory though, I also thought that the place at the beginning looked like heaven. I wonder if there will be a hell in this world. A while later, he stumbles across this creature who tells him to take the elevator and reach the top floor. He eventually finds the elevator, sees a bunch of monsters, and finally makes his way to the top floor. He eventually finds his way to a room where he sees what seems to be a queen. He asks, "Who are you?" and the door just closes, ending the video.
Who are you?
Remember when I asked if there was gonna be a hell in this world? Well, here it is. He is dark red, starts off in what definitely looks like hell, with 3 demons talking to someone they killed. They also say, "You are gonna die anyways," and I don't know what this means. By far the absolute most important part of the video was what they say at the end. They say, after watching the video, my take on it is that the girl at the end of the last video after that door closed, maybe the girl was about to kill him, but the demons just killed them themselves and brought him to hell, where in order to be alive again, he needs to talk to the fish. This also raises another question. What is that fish? What is its purpose? Before You Reach the Ocean had a very interesting title, and I thought we'd get a lot of information out of the video as a result, but literally nothing happened. And when I say nothing happened, I mean it! This whole video was just views of the land of hell, that's it. I Watch You Sleep starts off in a first person's perspective, where something is sneaking up on someone, with the intent to watch them sleep of course. That entity is actually the purple monster, and when the stalker sees it, it says, "Ah, it finally found a place to rest. What a precious life form, how it travels at night, watching its captor sleep." The video ends with the screen glitching and saying, "Signal lost." This was another video that we really didn't understand at all, and this stalking entity is never ever seen again. The following video is titled Dark Red, and it's literally a music video. Jordan wrote a song, and that's the video. Now I'm pretty sure it has nothing at all to do with the series, but it's still cool that he made a song, and it isn't even too bad. Head North begins with text appears saying, "Help is here, and you are not alone. Visit our small settlement for assistance and peace of mind." More text appears saying, "Try walking. You have escaped and are, mostly, free. You should have a much more physical body now." We then cut to a first-person view of slow walking, before more text comes up saying, "Because you are vulnerable, dissolved being, you are in unfathomable danger. Try to lay low in unpredictable landscapes like this. Avoid getting snatched, hurt, changed, or taken advantage of." The boy eventually finds a robot who says that he picked up their signals and finds out that he's looking for the ocean. He says he can help and advises him to come inside. He then says there are many absurd, chaotic beings out there, but there are ones also like you, simply passing through, waiting for what comes next. I feel like that could possibly be a metaphor for something, but I can't put my finger on it. The next video titled, "I Have Sand in My Eye," shows a dried up fish who says that this place used to be underwater, before the sea dried up. It seems that the kid who has been looking for this fish for so long, that by now the sea has dried up, and the fish is dying. At least, that's my take on it. From here on out, it gets confusing. Starting with this next video, Take a Break, it seems as if they don't have anything to do with the series. They just seem like videos Jordan made for himself. The art style is completely different. Even the character is slightly changed. The series changing like this with a video called Take a Break could not possibly be a coincidence either. This video is probably him saying that he wants to take a break on the series, and also doubles as a message that sometimes you just need to slow down and take a break. After this Take a Break video, none of the videos had anything to do with the series, and they even stopped featuring that character in it. Kind of like Jordan, when he himself stopped appearing in his videos. Maybe he's getting ready to start a new series, or maybe he's just taking a break. Whatever it is, Jordan's house was a fantastic watch. This file is undetermined, and that is due to a couple of reasons. We feel like we did in fact find out more about Jordan's house than many other people. Most of what we said was merely speculation, and just a few actual answers. Another reason we weren't fully able to debunk this series was that it didn't get to end. It seemed to be really going somewhere, with the boys attempting to find the fish. But then he took the break and the videos changed. One thing we were able to completely find out was that almost every video was a metaphor, and these videos were just snippets of Jordan's world. The most incredible part about the series is that Jordan completely created his own unique world here, and it just leaves us wanting more. POSTcontent is one of the most interesting ARGs we've ever come across during our time on YouTube. It started in December 2018, and on the surface, it just seems to be a tutorial channel, but of course as you watch on, you see just how strange the channel truly is. Basically what we are going to do here is attempt to explain every video and eventually the entire series if we can. A very important thing to add is that fellow horror channel Nexpo now, made a video about POSTcontent already, but not only did POSTcontent make many more uploads since then, but we also purposely avoided Nexpo's video so we can formulate our own reasonings as to what is going on in the series. But with all that explanation aside, let's get into the videos. The first video, titled Another Night, starts off the series in a very important way. It shows how weird his room is, with the floor being completely covered up, and it's also revealed that he is scared of something. He turns back and you see a bloody bucket, which is very, very important for later, and then he turns around and looks back at the door, where he is jump scared by the titular ghost, or demon, whatever that thing is. He quickly shuts the door and starts playing a YouTube video, which is meditation music to calm you down. A very, very important detail for later. The second video, titled Easy Go Solutions 2018 1080p Video RIP, is basically a camera recording meditation videos, very obviously meaning that our main character here is definitely in a struggle, and as the videos go on, we're going to start to see what this struggle is.
Mind is an ocean, and the waves are your thoughts. So stay on land, will you? Everyone knows how it is to feel undesirable. And many fail to realize the simple solution. Yesterday's bad energy is history, so move past it. See? It's behind you now.
The third video is just titled Vlog. In it, we see our main character here try to vlog. He wants to try it because it seems pretty easy, and during this whole video, he's just recording the demon in the hallway, and at the end, he puts the camera down to watch other vlogs, most likely to study exactly what they do so he can do it like them.
Ring the bell icon. And remember to...
I love you guys. If you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. New York City pop-up shop details coming soon. Get your Maverick merch, logovault.com/shop, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Take it easy, fam. Calm, you got this one.
Basically, the last video wasn't very important, but this next video is the exact opposite. It's perhaps the most essential video on the entire channel. This video is called Encounter, and it starts off outside, where we just see the demon and he's shaking like usual. That's until our main character turns around, where you see a body bag. This body bag is going to start to appear up more often, and it's the main key to figuring out just what this channel is about. It raises questions. Is he a murderer? Is it a metaphor? The next video is titled Encounter Update, and its purpose is to clear up the confusion you could have about the last video, but all it does is create more. I find it very important to note that while he is talking, he literally kicks the bucket. I'm sure most of you know what that means, but just in case you don't, it basically means to die. After this, he checks outside his window and sees the demon once again, at which point his phone vibrates.
Jehovah's Witness?
And that becomes a very common theme as the series goes on. His phone always seems to vibrate, and usually it's not at the best times either. Now with POSTcontent technically being a tutorial channel, it's odd that there isn't actually many tutorials, but hey, here's one of them. It's called Constraint Tutorial, and is basically for people who see things in reflections. He says the first instinct is to look away, but he demonstrates why you should never do that when he looks away and looks back. This thing on the reflection gets closer.
You know, your first instinct might be to look away. I know that was my instinct, but this is something you really don't want to do, and I'll quickly demonstrate why. See? It's closer.
This video is also the first time he mentions his mother, and apparently she told him that with enough confidence, this will all go away.
Oh yeah, my mother is somehow convinced that with enough confidence all this will simply go away. So let's try just asking nicely, you never know.
He uses her tips and literally asks the face to go away, and it doesn't work.
Could you please leave? What do you know? Didn't work.
That's when he tilts his head and goes into an intense staring contest. Apparently it was so intense, it causes the face's eyes to bleed and it vanishes. It seems that he was a little shocked that it did vanish, because he, in a more excited voice, said he needed to catch some sleep. But when he gets up, he falls over and starts puking on the floor. That's when his meditation video starts playing and specifically says, "Yesterday's bad energy is history, so move past it." It also starts repeating, "It's behind you now," over and over again, at which point the video ends.
Just gotta keep looking. And there we go. I think I'll try and catch some sleep. Have a good night. Yesterday's bad energy is history. So move past it. See? It's behind you now. It's behind you now. It's behind you now. It's behind you.
These are incredibly important details that basically solidifies the fact that our main character here is definitely regretting some sort of action he did, and he's using these meditation videos to attempt to move past them. With the amount of videos we have seen so far, I'm very sure multiple theories are bouncing around your head, and they are for us too. That's why after we are done analyzing all these videos, we're going to explain each theory we come up with and which we think is the most plausible. That being said, let's finish the videos first. The next one continues his tradition of studying YouTubers to be like them, and in this case he noticed that many vloggers do house tours, so that's what he decides to do here. He starts off with his room where he once again shows his bloody bucket, and then it shows where he keeps various types of rope before his phone vibration interrupts him. Strange.
Oh, and this is where I keep various types of rope.
He also goes downstairs, which he says he doesn't go down to unless it's absolutely necessary. And one thing worth noting is that once he arrives there, he starts whispering. He says it doesn't seem that bad actually once he's there for a little, and then he thanks YouTube before the video ends.
And here we are. Here we are. Huh. Doesn't seem that bad, actually. Thanks, YouTube, for helping me make this step. Yes.
Indifference tutorial is the next video, and it's probably the creepiest video on the channel to us. It taps into one of my fears, and it's simple. Things coming up behind you. It basically is the character trying to make us resist whatever you think may be behind you at night, And also, you're not allowed to sleep. So in this video, the thing behind you was getting closer and closer as you were getting more and more tired and anxious. As the video goes on, it shows what seemed to be that body bag again, but then the phone vibrates once again. When he turns back around, the body bag falls. Eating healthy is the next video, and this is another one that taps into the obvious mental issues the main character has. Apparently, according to him, one of his friends told him that eating healthy can make him feel better. As a result, he takes out some cabbage and starts eating it.
One of my friends told me to start eating healthier. Apparently, it's supposed to help when you're like me and you feel like shit all the time. And since he's probably not coming over, I thought I'd make this video to show him that I am, in fact, eating healthy now.
The next video is simply called Trial, and in this one our main character tries to see if changing the music will help get rid of this demon, and it does not work at all. The demon gets right up in his face, and when the screen turns black it sounds like he vomits, but that's not confirmed.
So I've been thinking, why does everything have to be so dark and terrifying all the time? It doesn't need to be, right? So why not break the rules? Shit. Let's try it, shall we? That really is too fucking weird.
The next video is called My Living Room, and in this one he basically shows that his house is starting to fall apart, but he thinks some sort of burglar did this. This video might not seem like much, but once we start with our theories, this video is actually integral in our eyes.
Like, I'm pretty sure it didn't look this bad last I was here. I mean, I don't know, I don't go down here that often, but if you have any idea what could have happened, write a comment or something, because I got no clue.
The next video is titled Error, and this might be the darkest and most important video in the entire series. It starts with the main character simply wanting to sleep, but he just can't. And it's because of that demon once again. He gets another call, but then it cuts to the body bag, which is actually moving, and the narrator talks to it.
What do you think you're doing? Let's face it, your life is miserable. You won't admit it, but you're doing this to yourself. Why do you insist on keeping everything so dark in here? That's not helping your mental situation. But it hurts, doesn't it? You've actually managed to convince yourself that living in these conditions is somehow favorable. My god, your room is a mess. Do you really think you can help anyone before giving this place a good scrubbing? Here's a thought. Maybe your precious audience could help you.
The next video is titled Issue and is another very important one. He basically is talking to the audience here on how many people said the demon isn't real, and he tries to tell the demon that,
Hey bitch, did you hear? You're not real. Apparently you're not fucking real. You're not fucking...
After that, he sits down frustrated and it sounds like he might have smashed his phone. The final video, at least so far, is titled Solution. This is by far the biggest video yet, and the way it's made just seems like it's gonna be the final video. It starts off with him playing music, which inspired him to traverse to the downstairs room, where he sits in a chair and says, "I hope this works." It then shows what looks like the body bag above him, and then he seemingly falls asleep and awakens outside. Calming music plays as he just wanders outside and eventually back to his house, where he looks at the chair again and sees a mannequin. And that's all the videos so far. This is easily one of the best ARGs that we have ever come across so far, and like we said before, there is a multitude of explanations / theories to go through, so without further ado, let's get into it. The first explanation / theory is that he is a murderer, and he is being haunted by a past victim, and also has a victim currently, the dude in the body bag right now. He's also most likely regretting what he's doing, but for some reason still does it. It would also explain why there's a bloody bucket, and why he literally kicks the bucket. This is the most surface level theory here. It is one you would come up with without even looking very deep into it. The reason we're gonna have to debunk this theory is how he talks to the body bag during the error video. The way he talks to it makes it seem like he's talking about himself, and that's exactly what our next theory is, and that is, nothing's real. It's all a metaphor. The demon here just represents his inner demons and anxieties. He tries to get rid of them by playing stress-relieving music, but it doesn't work. As for the body bag, it represents him. He feels completely tied up and trapped. We also have suspicion that the house represents something too, and that is his mind. Our main character clearly wants to get rid of his demons. He meditates and basically wants his mind to be clear and clean. That's why the house's furniture is all covered up to be clean. But as the series goes on, he starts breaking down, and that at the exact same time you see the house starting to fall apart. His mom, friends also know about his mental state, which he has mentioned, and I have a sneaking suspicion that they are simply trying to call him, and that's why the phone always vibrates, but for some reason he still ignores it. But in the final video, he decides to grow up the courage to face his anxiety. He sits in his chair and you see the body bag come off, metaphorically representing the overcoming of his fear. Where he appears outside, he comes back to see a mannequin, which represents him. Before it was in the body bag, but now it's not, so it seems like we found our answer here. This series is about the main character's fight against anxiety. Anxiety which is so strong he can't even go outside. But there is still one blank, the kicking of the bucket. We have no idea how the kicking of the bucket can tie into this theory, but if you think you can figure it out, then please comment and let us know. That would be huge. That being said, even though we can't figure out how the kicking of the bucket ties into it, we can confidently say that we have debunked post-content. This has to be what the series is about. It just makes so much sense. Way too much sense. And unless a video comes out that just contradicts everything, this is 100% a debunk. Now, if you aren't already familiar with post-content, you're gonna have to check out our previous video before this one. It was a very long video, so we wouldn't be able to summarize everything here for you, even though we're gonna try. So again, if you haven't seen our previous video, please check it out. We'll be waiting. Now, from what I've been hearing, post-content finally appears to have ended. At the time of our first video, I actually thought the final video we covered back there would end up being the finale, but of course, I was wrong. This is definitely one of the better ARGs I've come across since we started this channel, so being able to talk about it again is just great, and perfect for Debunktober. So if you guys remember, we left off with an incredible video titled Solution, and in this video we saw him sit himself in a chair, we saw a body bag fly up, we saw him appear outside finally, and when he returned, there was a mannequin sitting in the chair, which presumably was the one that used to have the body bag over it. This video at the time almost confirmed to us the fact that this series was highly metaphorical. We concluded that the tied up body bag represented him feeling tied up and trapped, and seemed to represent the negative side of him, and the various creatures throughout the videos represented his inner demons/anxieties, despite the common perception at the time being the fact that he was a murderer making tutorials. But with the series having made some way more since then, maybe our theory was completely wrong. Is he actually a murderer? Is what we thought last time completely wrong? That's what we're here today to find out. We will analyze each of the remaining videos and ultimately come up with a conclusion as to what post-content is truly about. After the video Solution, we finally got another tutorial style video called DIY Body Disposal. And yeah, the title is pretty self-explanatory. He gives you a complete rundown on what must be done when disposing of a body. Now, when venturing into the comment section, the popular theory of him being a murderer returned, and for good reason, but when you think about it, that's still just not the case. This is clearly the body we saw from the previous video, and this is a metaphorical representation of him getting rid of his previous self, aka starting over. The following video is titled Update, and in this video we see that he seems to be done because his tutorials seem to be working better than expected. We had this theory going on that the house represents his mind and its collapse, and as you can see in this video, it's almost completely destroyed. This theory seems to have some merit, as our character quickly shows us that he wasn't being truthful. It's unclear if he's seeing his demons anymore, but he's definitely still not doing it at all, and asks if there's anyone that can help him. In the description, stuff gets interesting. He says, "I have no one to talk to except myself," and links a video. This video takes place inside the body bag where we hear struggling and eventually screaming. This ends with the main character saying that everything is alright and they'll get some help real soon.
It's okay. It's okay. Maybe we'll get some actual, real help this time. You heard it. She said she'll be my friend.
So yeah, once again, it definitely seems to me that this isn't an actual person, it's still metaphorical. This linked video was on a channel called Easy Go Solutions, and delving into the catacombs of this channel yields some very intriguing results. The first video on this channel is titled Easy Go Solutions is Rebranding, and in this video we see a woman ride up with a covered face whispering. It's impossible to make out what she is saying, but lucky for us, the subtitle saved the day. In this video she says,
"Sup fam, Easy Go Solutions here. The internet is a magical place and it shall aid you to your path of self-improvement, but you can't do it alone. That's why you're watching this PSA. We here at Easy Go Solutions are excited to announce that we will be dabbing on the competition by rebranding into your only true friend, with complete access to all your deepest secrets. So how does this work? Well, this is the internet, baby. I'm already in your head."
After saying all that, we are left with a blue screen telling us to leave our deeper secrets, linking an email to share those secrets. Now, since I didn't see all these videos directly when they came out, I'm going to attempt to put the POSTcontent and EasyGo Solutions videos in chronological order, so if I made a mistake, please let me know. Anyways, back on the main channel, we have unboxing weird package I found on my doorstep. In this video, we see a package at his doorstep with the EasyGo Solutions logo on it. Upon opening the box, he sees his phone that he previously destroyed. Even stranger, the bottom section of the box says, "Need control? Just toss it in the box." When he lifts that section of the box up, it looks like the box is bottomless. Back on the EasyGo Solutions channel, we have viewer testimonials, where they basically took the submitted secrets they received and displayed them. The description, however, is where it gets very interesting. Titled, Subject 1 Exchange, this video sees the main character watching that video where the body bag shows his conflicting thoughts. He wants to give the lady a chance, but he has conflicting thoughts about her as he isn't too sure about change. And this conflicting thought is represented by the body bag.
Don't say that. She seems nice. Problems breathing. Change doesn't always have to be a bad thing, you know.
If you couldn't tell, the EasyGo Solutions channel has a ton of unlisted videos, most of which I found on a playlist, and from my searching, I didn't find some of these linked on other videos like the aforementioned ones. I don't know if he edited descriptions or if these videos were public in the past, but I still want to go over every single video. With that being said, I want to quickly say that an unlisted video was released before the viewer testimonials and Subject 1 exchange. This video was titled Subject 1 Interior Self-Care. This is another video from inside the body bag, and in this one, we hear him talking about how he's conditioned to keep his emotions to himself.
Feeling really overwhelmed, but too uncomfortable to express it because I've been conditioned to keep those feelings to myself.
He then says that his feelings should be respected and he should listen to them. After his tangent, he laughs at himself and says, "What are you talking about?"
I should respect and listen to them. Self-care is difficult, but acknowledging your problems and communicating them is a big step in the right direction. What are you talking about?
The following video, which is also an unlisted one and is titled Subject to Argument, and it starts off with him wondering what to do for his next video. In doing this, he, like the title suggests, talks to himself and gets into an argument with himself.
Got any ideas? Take a break. What was that? I'm not sure your surroundings are helping you out mentally right now. Maybe you should just... Shut up. I like it here. I like it here. Why do you want to make videos anyway? It's not like your viewers are very deserving. What are you talking about? I have a wonderful audience.
Returning back to the main channel, we have Q&A with POSTcontent. He starts this one off in a peculiar way as he points out that outside has gotten overgrown. Now we know that this series is incredibly metaphorical, so I don't see him just mentioning this without there being some sort of significance. I don't know, am I looking too deep into this, or does it really mean something? Anyways, what follows is a fairly standard Q&A, albeit with a strange few moments. He was asked about the videos in the description, and when he looked, he saw nothing. He also mentioned sleeping on the moldy floor, which makes me wonder why he switched from only being upstairs to only being downstairs. He says it's because the stairs are obviously facing the wrong way, but that just seems like a strange excuse, especially with him not showing it. In the description, we have another unlisted video going back to EasyGo Solutions. This one titled Happiness Promo V3.1. And I kid you not, it's a dancing noose. Yeah, I don't exactly know what else to say about this one. The next video is titled Sleep Paralysis, where while he's sleeping, he sees that demon that was in some of the old videos. In the description, we have Subject 1 Process. It begins with some Nosferatu-looking hands moving its fingers, which was a demon that appeared in some of the older videos, and he goes up to it and does the same. He then rips the hand clean off and throws it in a box. I took this as him overcoming a demon with the help of this box. We then have Taking a Peek Outside ASMR, where he does exactly that. We get to see the exterior of his house and how beat up it is, and the tension also gradually rises throughout this video with its ominous sound effects, all culminating in a chair flying over by itself. Per usual, the description again has a video, this one being called Subject 1 Epiphany, and wow, that's Nexpo's voice. Yeah, apparently the main character of this series watched Nexpo's video. In particular, it highlights the part where he says that the demon is a papier-mâché mask, where he then goes up to that demon which is lying on the floor, where he picks up the head, and what do you know, Nexpo is right.
My dude, that's clearly a papier-mâché mask.
When he turns back, the body of the demon is gone. He puts the head in the box, and with the body gone, I'm assuming he got over this demon too. After this, we have A Dream I Had, where in the description he says that he didn't know it was possible to record one's dreams, and that he's not comfortable with this, but at the same time, he doesn't have anything else better to do this week. In the dream, we see him on the floor with a demon gazing down upon him. It eventually walks right up to him and just stares at him with its blank face. A face that's a little familiar. Yeah, that's the same face of the girl in the first Easy Go Solutions video. That's the girl on the bike. The video in the description is titled Subject 1 Courage, which shows the mask of another demon that we've seen before. Once again, he takes it and puts it in the box, and with the video being titled Courage, it's very clear that he's really starting to overcome all his demons. I Got a Fan Letter is the video that follows this. It's a long letter, but in short, it's a secret admirer that writes in a kind of cryptic way. As the video ends, you can tell that he really appreciated the letter.
That was so sweet. Really sweet.
We then have Subject 2 Futile Reminder, where we're back in the point of view of the body bag. In the body bag, we can see that it is escaping. This to me shows that his negative thoughts are starting to flood back. The past few videos showed that he was conquering his demons, but with this video, I predict that that will all soon change. The following video is called YouTube Life Hacks, Not Clickbait, and I gotta say, I actually had no idea about some of these hacks that they displayed, and the scrubbing one especially is legitimately very useful. It does get a little creepy though, as towards the end of the video it says we are unstable, and the video starts glitching and the music starts distorting. But yeah, in conclusion, this video definitely was not clickbait, those actually were some useful tips. Subject 1 Instability follows, and this is a video that comes off as very important to me, despite being so short. It starts with our main character fixing something, then the video just goes nuts. There's a moment where it distorts with the text showing up for a split second and it says link status unstable, friend mode on. It's a little unclear as to what this means so far, but it's definitely extremely significant. So far, I think Easy Go Solutions has something to do with this, but I don't know what. Now this was a while back, but if you remember, one of the very first videos ever in this series had Easy Go Solutions in the title. It was a video rip where it shows calming footage with its own voice talking in it, and it seemed that he has re-uploaded it, but with some major changes. His voice is now buried under some really creepy sounds, but the description is by far the most interesting part. In the descriptions, it says that it doesn't speak to him anymore, and that it used to sound like his own voice, or his thoughts. This clearly signifies to me that his thoughts were being recorded without his knowledge by Easy Go Solutions. In the description, we have Don't Listen to Him, which has very hard to understand audio. A minute into the video, there is a very quick message that displays, and when translated, it says, "Please just believe me, this is authentic. No one, especially not him, would ever question the authority of this program. Just don't believe what you're hearing. He's the only one I have, so if this fails, I won't have anyone left. I'm sharing this with you to help you see the full potential of the Easy Link. The least you can do for me is put your trust in the program." Oh my lord, that was baffling. This confirms the suspicions that I was having. Easy Go Solutions has a program installed in our main character. It's still not known exactly what it does, but it is able to record his thoughts. One question I do have though is who was speaking there? This person mentions that he's the only one they have left, and if this fails, they won't have anyone left. Why won't this person have anyone left? Who even is it? I guess time will tell. In this next video, we can see that the distortion on the Easy Go Solutions videos are starting to get pretty bad. So bad, in fact, that even the title is slightly out of order. In its correct form, this video is called DIY Problem Disposal Subject 1 Issue. This video naturally is about the box that helps him get rid of his problems, and in this one, we see that the body bag has drawn on the walls. In the link description video, we see that our main character actually put the body bag in the box, and it's just all black ending the video. With the body bag seemingly representing his negative thoughts, it's going to be really interesting to see how he is from here on out. The next video, food tutorial, takes place in the pitch black darkness of the night, where he finally goes upstairs, and there's nothing there. He goes back down and eventually makes his way outside, where he stumbles across a noose. The end of the noose leads him to a chair that fell over a while back, which leads him to a stack of hay, which has some cabbage on it. He proclaims, "I'm so hungry," and proceeds to eat it. This video also has an interesting description, with it saying, "If anyone touches the description without my permission, I'm serious, don't you dare." This to me shows that Easy Go Solutions is also in complete control of his YouTube channel, and most likely everything else tech related. The next Easy Go Solutions video is titled, New Scary Condition Afflicts Up-and-Coming Social Media Personalities, where the video then proceeds to only show our titular character in his lowest moments. It says it may have a solution and tells us to visit easygosolutions.com. Naturally, I had to visit the site. In it, we have a page that says, "Feeling bad? All your teeth falling out? We may have the answer." After showing some symptoms at the bottom of the page, it says, "What's the cure, you ask? It's easy. Just subject yourself to the Easy Go Solutions brand new Easy Link technology." Oh, what's that? You already hooked up but the symptoms persist? Keep sharing yourself with us and we promise your symptoms will be alleviated. This message comes off to me as a little creepy. It aggressively begs you to subject yourself to their strange technology, a technology we know nothing about, and one that seems to not even be helping the problems it's supposed to cure, a technology that our main character has undoubtedly subjected himself to. There's another message though. Precisely 21 seconds in, there is a message that flashes by incredibly fast, giving us a link to a blog spot by the name of Sophie Miarger. Sorry if I butchered that. Judging by this selfie, this is obviously that faceless woman from the bike. This woman is connected to Easy Go Solutions, and we've seen that she has been working with our main character in some way. Maybe this blog will help us learn more. Yes, it does. There is so much crazy information on here. Let's read some of the posts. The first post I want to highlight is called I Wanna, and in the message she says,
"You should know I paid your head a visit tonight. It was thrilling. I even showed up in person, face to face. I want to see you, feel you, do all the things I can't do. I want to lie in the dust next to you and inhale your moldy carpet as you tell me your favorite food. I want to sit next to you and look on as you scroll through your Twitter dashboard. Maybe you'll see a tweet from me. I want to observe your YouTube analytics. I want to keep touching your video descriptions. I want to watch the subscribers trickle in as you upload another video. Maybe you'll even let me moderate your comment section. There's nothing I want more than for us to spend eternity online together."
Holy crap. So now we know that the one video where he had a nightmare of her showing up, it was actually her visiting him. That really happened. We also get confirmation that she is the one messing with his description, and we see that she really likes him. The next post I want to spotlight is titled, Do Computers Dream? And in this post she goes on to say,
"Humans do. Your brain is just a computer made of meat, which means your thoughts are the internet. What happens when you put your computer on sleep mode? Does the internet disappear? Perhaps. Do you die every time you fall asleep? Possibly. But if your thoughts/dreams/hope and the World Wide Web are one and the same, then our bond will stay intact no matter how many times you die. So next time you go to sleep, don't think too hard about it. Who knows whether the you think is you will wake up or not? Who cares? Just keep dreaming. I'll be watching."
Again, this is some really chilling stuff. She says that our brain is a computer, which means she has access to it even if you die, and then gets all philosophical on us, and it's just really strange overall. The next post I want to show doesn't have a title, but holy moly, this one is insane. Just listen.
No, it's a complete misunderstanding. You aren't even supposed to see those links. How did you do that? Did someone tell you? I can't imagine why they would do such a thing. Those links are obviously there for those poor souls who need convincing of the Easy Link's extraordinary capabilities. I don't see why anyone would attempt to spoil that. To ruin our little relationship. To break what we spent so long building up. Believe it or not, I'm feeling pretty confident today, so I'll reiterate here.
After saying that, she links a picture of the description under his EasyGo Solutions re-upload, where he says that the video doesn't speak to him anymore, but for some reason it used to sound like him, and this absolutely freaks her out. Just listen.
This is not true. Nothing changed. It cannot be true. It would mean a huge setback. You've seen his videos, so you know that he's a little wacky. Only the program can help him. Only I can help him. Sorry, I'm rambling. It's not like anyone's reading this, right? If you are reading this, I'm not giving you anything else. I've already done too much. You're getting nothing.
After that, she proceeds to go full crazy, teasing the reader and seemingly breaking down. For some reason, that video not working on him anymore really freaked her out, and I don't know exactly why. The next blog post is another one with no title, and in it she says,
I guess I should be happy. This is what EasyGo Solutions wanted. This is what I wanted, right? So why does it feel like something really bad is about to happen? He is feeling good. Is it because of our influence, or despite it? Honestly, I should just be glad he's cooperating. If this whole thing fails, I'll have lost my purpose and probably won't get to be around anymore. Manage anymore. But is he cooperating? For a long time now, it seemed that he's slowly figuring things out subconsciously. If this seemingly positive development is in fact temporary, I'll be in trouble. I hate to admit this, but employing Type 0 in order to make him switch again was kind of a last resort. A new iteration would have been key in keeping him under control. But he is under control, right? No worries?
Wow, that's another shocking one. So by employing Type 0, whatever that is, she was able to switch his entire thought process and make him happy. If I read that right, that's horrifying. She can literally control everything about him. And that about wraps up the messages on this blog. That was a crazy ride and gave us a crazy amount of lore that expanded a character and made things way more interesting and creepy than before. But it's time to get back to the videos. Alright, finally we're on to the next video, Broadcast Error. And here we see the main character holding a knife, which he stabs into the house, causing the video to wildly distort and say Easy Link unstable. It seems that he realizes now that he has made a mistake, and is now part of this strange Easy Link test, and is trying to do something about it. The next video here is something I did not expect to see. It's a Let's Play. Yeah, that really came out of the blue, and out of all the games, he plays good old Minesweeper, and he rages really bad. So bad, in fact, that he starts sobbing.
Fuck, I'm not ready to go yet. I don't.
What a strange video. But the thing I found by far the most interesting is when you peek at the tabs at the top. The second tab says, "Is she really my friend?" He is, without a doubt, referring to that faceless woman, Sophie. The next video, Preliminary Interview, is one I find really interesting. In this one, he's being interviewed by what sounds to be an android from EasyGo Solutions, and later gets told what EasyGo Solutions will do, where it becomes clear that this video takes place when he first found out about this company.
State your name and age. State your favorite food.
I don't know. Recently I've been trying more of a healthy diet.
It also plays some sound bites later on for him to react to, and one of them freaks him out, but for some reason they play it again, almost as if to torment him.
We will play back a series of sound bites. Upon hearing the sound bite, you will give us your immediate thoughts regarding it.
Fine.
Soundbite number 1.
I don't know.
What do you want me to say?
Soundbite number 2.
Okay, I guess, actually, wait, no, could you turn this off, please? I'm not sure I'm, comfortable. Thanks. Right, so, is that all? Are we done?
Almost. Before wrapping up, we should revisit.
Soundbite number 2.
No, don't go back to 2, I'm serious, don't you fucking...
Alright, we're almost done. The second to last video is called Friend, and it's probably the weirdest video ever. I don't even really know what to say about it. He's just kinda walking around and talking to himself for the entire thing. He mentions not knowing how to greet a friend, and mentions not knowing if Sophie is really his friend again. He mentions offing himself with the noose that is lit up, and then he mentions being happy. The video is literally all over the place, and I don't know what to make of it. But now, let's get on to the final video. What should be the last video right here is called Friend Mode Off. It begins with his old phone flying out of the box, and then this distorted voice starts talking to him, asking what he's been doing. He says he's been talking to his friend, and then it shows that she was never there despite just being there a few seconds ago.
What is it that you're watching right now?
I'm watching my friend.
Take a look. She was never here. Never your friend. Your ignorance fills me with sorrow.
This causes him to, well, freak out and flee to the woods, and that's when he ends his life. Except, no, he didn't. Despite for a few seconds, he just jumps off and continues walking somehow. He walks back to his house, picks up a bunch of pills, and then throws them on the floor. But then he grabs a knife and stabs through his own stomach. About a minute later, he looks at his hands and stomach, and there's no damage. It's clear that for whatever reason, he is unable to... And then he decides to jump into the box. In the pitch black darkness, he just talks to himself. Well, the negative side to himself, I guess. They kinda just start reminiscing until speaking stops and a view actually forms. In this area, the other stuff he threw down here is there, and there's also an entrance at the top. This entrance leads to the house we saw at the beginning of the videos. Upon entering his old room, he sees Sophie, looks down at his arm, and sees cuts everywhere. All of a sudden, the system says, "Stay," and it shows a dark room, a flickering light, and... what? The system then says, "Run." It shows those views again. Shows him sitting in a field where the text pops up saying, "The thing you were looking for, did you find it?" And what the heck, it happened again. The text then says maybe it's somewhere else with the video, and from what most people assume the series ending with the system saying, "Subject missing." And that is post content for you. So, the first time we checked post content, I said it was definitely one of the best ARGs we've ever come across. But now, it's legitimately fighting to be the best. These videos were mind-blowing. I thought it could have ended way back then, but I'm so glad it continued. But now for the important part. Let's make some sense out of all this. Alright, here's where I'm going to explain what I believe this series is about, but before I do that, I want to quickly explain the whole thing that went on with the houses, because after finishing the series, it became clear that I made a mistake. I said before that the house itself was a metaphor for his mind breaking down, but that's not true. The house from the first video all the way to Solution is a completely separate house from the house that we see from the video update to now. That doesn't sound too important, but it actually is in the grand scheme of things. So with all that being said, what do I think this series was about? This series to me was about our main character struggling with his personal demons, whether that be severe depression or anxiety or maybe even schizophrenia, although that I'm not sure about. Anyways, this is an incredibly metaphorical series where his inner demons are represented by actual demons that terrorize him. His negative thoughts are also represented by the body bag. Somewhere along the line he heard of easy-go solutions and decided to use them to get help. And boy, was that a mistake. Easy-go Solutions was somehow able to create a simulation where he had no privacy, wasn't able to hurt himself or escape, and they somehow made it to where he didn't know he was even in a simulation for a while. It seems that the first video in this simulation is his update video, where we first see him in the broken down house. Around that time is where Easy-go Solutions was getting talked about a lot more, and it's also when his description started getting edited, so it makes sense that him randomly appearing in this house is where the simulation began. As we see though, he was somehow able to escape the simulation, and that's how the series ends. It seems that he finally made it back home, and that's where we end things. So for this file, honestly, I think I can confidently call it a debunk. I don't really see any other possibilities for what this series was about, especially not their murderer one. Guys, this was an incredible series, and you guys should definitely check it out for yourself. It was an amazing ride. Now, a while back, we stated that we would not be covering ARGs anymore unless they were incredibly unique, and that's because we were frustrated. ARGs, when done right, are some of the finest entertainment on this platform we call YouTube, so naturally we always want to cover these, and actively search for the next great one. 90% of the time though, this has led to frustration. So many ARGs right now are just copycats of others and bring nothing new to the table. In the worst case, it even led to us cancel a video of ours out of frustration, which led to hours of wasted work and unnecessary stress, all for nothing. During this time of frustration, I heard of this ARG simply titled Dad, but just passed it off, as I was too frustrated to even look at one, but little did we know, I would be passing one of the most unique and complex ARGs I've ever seen. Basically, it was everything I wanted in an ARG. Dad is an ARG, well, about a dad of course. Unlike most ARGs though, this one doesn't focus on distorted ear-screeching audio and equally distorted filmmaking. It actually features great cinematography and great background music to accommodate it. It's also not that scary, but is still unsettling enough to weird you out, but it also is funny sometimes too. They also post very consistently instead of taking colossal hiatuses. In every sense of the word, it is truly unique. We've never seen anything like this one before. Clearly this is catching on with people too, as it is one of the biggest ARGs in recent memory, and today we are finally going to give it the attention it undoubtedly deserves. As of this recording, the last video uploaded to the channel was the 46-second live dad show video, and the only reason why I'm saying this is because this ARG is very much active still, and in the future a lot of content could release that may possibly contradict what is said here. Now with all that out of the way, the first video on this channel is appropriately titled Dad Uploaded, and is a very mystifying introduction to the series. The video begins with Dad's eyes going from normal to white multiple times. After this, he's just wandering around, all confused, and the reason for his confusion will be apparent later. A note for this video would be that he seems obsessed with the true value hardware, and that is fairly important to know what's going on forward. The next video is titled Dad is Awake, and could very well be seen as the first true video, as it starts the formula that nearly every video follows up with. This video shows that Dad is about to head off to work. Before he departs, he mentions everything he needs, including a kiss from his wife, which he does not receive. This seems to confuse Dad, who does not really know what to do as the video ends.
Now I just need a kiss on the cheek from my loving wife to send me on my way. Cheryl? Cheryl? Where could she be? Huh. Dad's always the first to leave. How will Dad make it through the day without love from wife? Okay, calm down. Let's think for a second. Dad'll just wait. But Dad can't wait. He'll be late for a job. What is going on here? How does Dad know if wife loves him without a kiss?
Right off the bat, we get to see how Dad acts, and yeah, he acts pretty weird. He seems extremely robotic, whether it's his strange way of walking he did in the first video or the strange way of speaking. Oh yeah, and one more thing. Notice how Dad is silent at the start of this video, but when this strange orb shows up, he begins talking. It's almost like there's a connection there, but more on that later. The following video is dubbed Dad is Home, and here we see Dad exhausted after a long day of work, and again he wants to kiss his wife, and he still does not get it. Actually, his family is nowhere in sight again, which has him worried, ending this video.
Dad sure is tired. Dad'll feel good once he gets a nice kiss on the cheek from his beautiful wife. I love you, Cheryl. I think Boss really liked my presentation. Maybe I'll be promoted to executive worker. Then, when Dad has enough saved, he can quit and become #1 YouTuber. I'm an executive dad for my loving family. Family, Dad's home. That doesn't sound like my family. That sounds like silence. Wife? Daughter? Where did they go? Where's Dad's family?
In this video, we get to see one of Dad's huge goals getting mentioned, which has become the #1 YouTuber. Whether or not this will eventually happen is still yet to be determined, but I definitely think he'll do it. Dad's dinner is the next video, and starts with him all alone at the dinner table with canned food, and him again wondering where his family is. The orb returns, magically opening up the canned food and having it placed on the table, where the dad stares at it with a frown, undeniably because he has to eat it all alone. Dad's family is the direct follow-up, where we finally see his family, which includes a wife and 1 daughter. Apparently they went out to dinner without him, which of course makes him upset. They both head to bed, which still has him upset, ending the video. As far as his family goes, they are almost as odd as him.
We went out to the restaurant because we thought you were working late tonight.
I didn't work late. I worked regular. What did you guys have to eat?
We had dinner and dessert. I had vegetables and fruit. Mom had sandwich and toffee. What did you have, Dad?
I had a can of food. It tasted horrible eating it alone.
That's nice, honey. I'm tired now. Good night, Mom and Dad. I'm going to go read in bed. Don't stay up late, Dad.
But what about our nightly family chat? I wanted to tell you guys about True Value's great deals.
The next video is called Dad is the Greatest YouTuber and shows a chair which has Felix the cat sitting on top of a pie. In case you didn't get the reference, Felix is PewDiePie's first name, that's why Felix the cat is standing on top of a pie. He's here because at the time he was the #1 YouTuber, and Dad's goal is to beat him, so what does he do? He smashes it, of course. Family Phone Calls is one of the most important videos in the entire series, as it really kickstarts the conflict that will soon be underway. The title is self-explanatory, as the mom and the daughter are both on the phone. The daughter is talking to Griffin, which is presumably her boyfriend. Nothing strange there. The mom's phone call, however, is fishy. Dad asks who she is talking to, which throws her very off guard, where she suspiciously responds with Diane before running off. The next video, Nice Axe, shows who she was really talking to. This man is referred to as the neighbor, and it is seen in this video chopping wood. That's it. The next video's title is just kissing emoji, so I guess that's what we'll call it. Anyways, this video has Dad reminiscing on the first time he met his wife, which according to him was 5 eons ago. If you don't know what an eon is billions of years, and he met her 5 eons ago. This kickstarts an overarching theory that I'm sure many of you might have been thinking already, and that is that they aren't human. That being said, another big moment occurs at the end of this video, where Dad walks off screen and someone kisses him. Many people believe this to be Diana, his wife's friend.
Oh.
Mom vacuums is the following video, and well, she does what the title says. While vacuuming, she comes across a dad magazine. Now, it's never revealed as to what is in the magazine, but whatever it is, it absolutely pissed off the wife. So much that it appears that she even glitches up at the end.
What's this? Oh my. Dad!
Family Dinner is a direct follow-up to the aforementioned video, and it starts with a family dinner. Dad, of course, is very happy that they are all eating together, but that ends up being short-lived. Daughter asks if Griffin can come over, and while Dad says no, Mama immediately interrupts and says yes, undoubtedly in an attempt to annoy Dad. She then shows the magazine, which leaves everyone in a gasp, ending the video. Dad is Offline is perhaps the most important video yet. In this one is revealed that they are in the server, and a wife is going to shut it off. The wife even says that it isn't up to her, and in order for the server to come back, he needs to hit 5,000 subscribers. At the end of the video, we get to see what it's like to have the server off, and it's just nothing. It's pitch black.
Oh, look at that. It's already off.
The following video is another huge one, and apparently was only uploaded because Dad got a hold of the neighbor's Wi-Fi password and used it to upload this one. Besides the very first video, this is the only other one where he is outside. Like the first video, he is definitely confused again, and now we know why. It's because he is in a normally small room, a room that is being controlled by someone. Out here, Dad learns that he can't talk. This was a question I had before too. I was always wondering why they would speak without moving their lips. And at least to me, it seems in that specific room, your thoughts speak for you. It's either that or they speak telepathically to each other.
Huh? Dad. Dad has voice.
Eventually, he stumbles across someone, a real guy, not one of them, and it's just as awkward as you would expect. During their ultra awkward conversation, he mentions his daughter's age, which is 3 eons, and also asks the guy if he wants to go shopping at True Value, reinstating his strange obsession for that place. Now these next 3 videos are also super unique for an ARG, and that's because they are songs. Now don't get it twisted, the whole point of this series wasn't just to promote his music like some other channels have done in the past. The only reason he did this is because he believes it is an important step into becoming the #1 YouTuber. Also, the songs actually provide quite a bit of lore to the series, so let's analyze them. Can't Be Stopped is the first song, and it starts off with his daily routine, and then he hits us with a set of bars that absolutely shocked me. He says, "Daydream of the older days, days spent under Kepler rays, represent 22b. Wow, Kepler 22b. For those of you who don't know, Kepler 22b is a planet located 587 light years away. It is widely known as being the planet with the highest probability of featuring life. What Dad did right there was basically confirm that he is from Kepler 22b. He is an alien. He also mentioned that his body is infinite, talks about true value again, and makes up the sickest dance moves ever. The next song is titled True Value, and what do you think this one is about? Yeah, he basically praises true value throughout it. However, it is important to note that he mentions the neighbor's shed, and how he definitely isn't jealous of it. That being said, there is something incredibly important lying in this video, and that is in the form of a message. At the very beginning of the video, there's a low contrast piece of text, which is practically inside the background and is very easy to miss. The text says, "Where is CFB-DSIR?" If you search Google CFB-DSIR, you see a planet with the same name. This is a dwarf planet which has no star and freely orbits space. Why does Dad need to know where this planet is? The song Diane is possibly the most interesting one. He starts off by saying that Mom keeps his blood pumping and he loves her and her kisses, but wonders why he has feelings for Diane whenever she comes over. Dad seemingly mentions the kiss at the end of the Kiss video from way back, and says it was a dream and he would never commit romantic treason, but still says that Cheryl is special, but Diane is at another level.
But that Diane is on another level.
This video also features another interesting message in the form of a low contrast text again. This time it simply says, "We miss you." Strange. Now that's all for the music videos, but quickly before we return to normal uploads again, let's quickly check out the channel YouTube Server, a channel that started appearing in all of Dad's comments starting here. It's also one of Dad's subscribed channels. There are only 2 videos on the channel, but it seems in the world of this ARG, this is the official YouTube channel. In the first video, they welcome us to YouTube, showing us all the benefits to joining the sites, but one really strange thing is that they show off some of the original creators, and they just show Will Smith and Jimmy Fallon. That's when it dawned on me that this channel is a commentary for YouTube and Google as a whole. Look, it's no secret that YouTube's recommendation system is kinda stupid, and for some reason they seem to love promoting celebrities like Will Smith and Jimmy Fallon instead of promoting actual YouTubers. But more importantly, this is the server that somehow got a hold of Dad and is controlling him, showing the immense power that Google has in this world. The only other video that was uploaded to the YouTube server channel was a video titled "For Internal Use Only." This video is literally this image with some very ominous music in the background. Venturing into the comments gives us some very strange results as well. In there, Dad had a very strange comment, which apparently translates to, "I'm coming." YouTube server also commented saying to disregard this video and check out their other one. I also found an incredible comment, which found out that the ominous music were noises that Kepler 22b makes. If you search up Kepler 22b noises on YouTube, the audio sounds almost the exact same. That was a great find that definitely cleared things up. But now, let's get back into the actual videos. The first real video back is Fantasy Story. In this video, we see that the family is going to go to the park. The sister is dressed how she loves it and Mom brought her favorite mom book. Dad, however, isn't talking. That's until that strange thing appears on the floor and he starts talking again.
Honey?
Cheryl, what book is that?
It seems to control him and the things around him. The mom mentions that her book is a fantasy book, and Dad says he has a fantasy too and whispers, "Fifth gear wide open."
Dad has a fantasy.
What do you mean, honey?
Fifth gear.
Now I have no idea what that means, so if you know, write a comment down below. At the end screen of the video, we see binary, which translates to Mom's Book. If you look at what exactly the Mom's Book was, her book is called Dirty Little Secret, which is a romantic novel, and that's definitely not a coincidence, as the mom is clearly into the neighbor. The next video, Mom Home Alone, confirms this even further, as she has the wood that he chopped up way earlier and is now holding it. Now I'm not gonna comment on that metaphor, but as the video ends, the dad's shadow appears, suggesting that he now knows what is going on. And at the very end, we see more binary, and this time it says, "Nice axe." The following video, Neighbor Visits, starts off with Dad wondering why Mom is being so weird, when the neighbor just walks in. The strangest thing about the neighbor is that he actually talks.
Hey Dad, how are you?
Oh, hey neighbor. Dad doesn't feel great.
The dad later mentions that she got mad at a magazine that wasn't actually hers, and when the neighbor asks if he's sure about that, the orb appears with the magazine and the neighbor walks off suspiciously, and the dad says, "Maybe it is mine." The video Dad's Chores sees Dad with some wood. In a moment reminiscent of when the neighbor did this, the orb appears with an axe, and Dad chops. As he chops, he has some thoughts about everything that's going on, until something crazy happens. We start to hear whispers, and they aren't from Dad.
Neighbor, then shut the grandma, the motion down, good hoop, whoever does shut the tree.
Dad's chores are done.
The whispers say, "Andon, we miss you. Andon, can you hear me? Dad, wake up. Can you hear me?" Now that is crazy. Who is talking to him? What do they mean by wake up? Well, in order for us to have some time for all that to sink in, we don't have a proper video for a little while again, and instead we have 4 songs in a row. That being said, this isn't entirely a break, because like you saw last time, there were a plethora of important clues and information embedded in the lyrics and codes. The first of 4 songs is called Dad Feels Good, where he mentions things that make him, well, feel good. One of these is Pl4ygrnd, but then he mentions some more normal things. The craziest part, just like the last song, is the binary. In this one, we get a mind-blowing code. When translated, it says Lieutenant Emily Ridley. This is base, come on in. This is a huge piece of the overall narrative and makes it seem like someone from a mission is trying to contact him, a huge piece that makes more sense later. The second of the 4 songs is Dad Is On. This song talks about Dad moving his limbs in such a non-human way. It just further confirms the fact that he is, in fact, not human. He also mentions that the server sees everything he does, and at a point in this video, there is more binary, and it's another big message. It translates to, "Andon, come in, this is base." It seems to continue what that woman was whispering to him in the chores video. It also shows us what Dad's name is, Andon, right? Well, that's what many people think, but it's actually wrong. You see, there is another piece of binary that links us to a German-dubbed episode of the TV show Lost, and a man in the show refers to some islanders as Andon.
Andon! Was? Andon! Andon! Was meinst du? Was? Andon!
And in the show's wiki, Andon is translated to others. This discovery changes everything, as almost everyone I've come across thinks his name is Andon, but that's not true, and the use of others actually makes sense in the grand scheme of the plot. The next song is Dad Bod, and this one is super self-explanatory, because it's all about shaking that dad bod. In all seriousness, there are some interesting lyrics in this song yet again, as he mentions that he left his home planet looking for some fun, and yep, there's more binary. This time it links us to an article and says P19, first 7. This means that you have to go to paragraph 19 and read the first 7 words of the article. When reading that, it says, "I think I found a way in." The final song, Dad Feels Golden, is about him riding a motorcycle. That's really about it. However, they do mention 5th gear wide open again, and I still don't know what that means. Towards the end of the song, the female whisper returns saying, "Dad, there is nothing stopping you now. Never turn back. 5th gear wide open. Goodbye."
There's nothing stopping you now. Never turn back. 5th gear wide open.
Returning back to the regular videos, we begin with sneaking out, where we see the daughter wanting to sneak out, but her conscience keeps speaking to her with both viewpoints. After putting wine on the table for mom, she decides to go through with it, and leaves as the video ends. We follow this video up with Dad Daydreams, where he looks at some true value sales and mentions some light bulb watts that could see through to another dimension. He also mentions wanting to build a shed that would be better than the neighbor's shed, and finishes the video wondering what could be in the neighbor's shed. The next video, Shed, is a little strange. It shows a minister's shed and Dad destroys it. That's literally it. No binary code either. Well, okay, let's just move on. Dad Loves Mom comes next, and this is perhaps the strangest video on the entire channel. It shows the orbs in a different way than usual. This time they are functioning as the classic angel and demon on each other's shoulder thing, where one orb is making Dad say he loves Diane and the other one says Ella, and he vanishes. Ella, we have a new character now, because this character was never mentioned until now, but now we'll have to wait and see her connection to Dad. After that, time reverses rather quickly with the Pl4ygrnd music again. And Dad appears in a super futuristic place, and then it ends. Real quick, I have to say that before we get to the next video, it's important to note that a 17-minute video was made, but this video features all existing footage, but it's all just put in one place, so there's no need to analyze that. There's a music video on an existing song that's slightly different, but that's also really not worth analyzing, as it isn't that different. And there's also a video where Dad shouts out the YouTuber Inside a Mind for making a video on him. That's cool, but again, not worth analyzing. That being said, I hope he does that to us. But the next video on the channel is what I believe to be the absolute best video on the entire channel, and that is Dad, Betty Dad, Act 2, Part 1. The video opens up with the planet being very close to Earth, which most likely is CFB-DSIR, the dwarf planet which moves sporadically. We then cut to what is presumably a car moving, and it stops right next to a crashed astronaut. A man in black walks up to the astronaut, turns it over, and it's Dad. We then flash into Dad's memories, which features a woman that he is with, and one that we haven't seen before, who at one point on a name tag is shown to be named Ella. Whatever the case is, they are clearly separated now, but were in a relationship in the past. It also shows an astronaut that was also with him. She is the aforementioned Emily, the person that tried to contact him, and this is the mission they were on together. The following video is a song, and this one is titled Dad Loves Mom. This song is basically about the role Mom has over Dad. She completely controls him, which was kinda already established in previous videos, but this just confirms it even further. At one point in the video, we have a freeze frame that only lasts for 1 second, and shows Dad dancing with someone that definitely isn't Mom, so it is presumably Diane. The next video was originally titled Carl, but apparently was changed to Private, and this is an extremely important one. Here we see a new guy, Carl, wanting to find out more about Dad. He walks up to where Dad resides and enters. Now, believe it or not, this actually isn't the first time we've heard of Carl in this series. Apparently, he frequently leaves hints in videos and is also commonly seen on the official Discord to the ARG, where he documents his findings there. I forgot where, but it is also stated that Carl hates YouTube server and the power it/Google has. The next proper video is Obey the Server, and it is another song. In this one, I kinda interpreted it as a piece of propaganda. For starters, we see Dad's hand turn on the computer, so clearly he is watching this, and the song mentions how Dad uploads so he's eternal. It constantly says to obey the server. It mentions how the family lives for their observers, which in that case is us, the audience. It constantly preaches that life online is so much cooler, and that shows to me at least that YouTube server is brainwashing people into always being on their site and gaining tons of power in the process. The following video is one of the most important ones yet, and that video is Little Towels. In this video, we see the blue orb put some pancakes on the table. Normal stuff, and he sits at the table and eats a pancake. The craziest part though is that while he is there, wife sprints up at him with canned food and he says, "Who are you?" but when he eats his food, he reverts back to his dad personality.
Oh, pancakes. Wait, where am I? Hey, who are you? Stop, stop! Good food. Thanks, Cheryl.
This is mind-blowing and was absolutely instrumental to me being able to piece together the story, which I will explain later. The next video is his 40,000 subscriber surprise, and while it isn't that important, I thought that it could be necessary to add that Mom is getting him a gift for this milestone, and maybe that gift will be important. That's the only reason I added this, but at the time of recording, that gift has yet to be seen. Admittedly, there are a couple fillers over here. The dad reviews food video is pretty entertaining, but really doesn't add anything to the narrative at all, and neither does this Jamie Foxx and dad video, even though that one was absolutely hilarious. That leads us to Laszlo, probably the creepiest video on the entire channel. It is a dark one, and is the intro to a new character named Laszlo, of course. The creepy part is when she opens her eyes. Red and blue. These are common colors throughout the series. The backdrop is red and blue, and so are the orbs. What is the significance? Why are her eyes that color? It also appears that she is quite young with her voice. Unfortunately, at the time of making this video, there haven't been any answers as to who Laszlo is, so we're kinda left in the dust with this one. Daughter Snuck Out is the next video, and is a continuation of when the daughter snuck out a while back. Apparently she's in a part of town she's never been to before, and Griffin is nowhere in sight. Her phone eventually dies, and since she is far from home now and has no GPS, she doesn't know how to get back. To make matters worse, an ominous figure walks up to daughter as the video ends. The final video we will mention is Dad Guy, and yeah, this is his cover of Bad Guy, and to be honest, it's better than the original. In all seriousness, there isn't anything too important worth mentioning in the lyrics, but in the video itself there is something pretty creepy. Throughout the video as he dances, you can see an officer in the back with a YouTube button on their uniform, showing us that they work for a YouTube server. They just watch him for whatever reason, and since it's all black, they could possibly be the people that found daughter, and to an even larger extent, could possibly be the people that found Dad way back when he crash landed here. And that wraps up all the videos. Or does it? No, there are far more. Now, the actor behind these videos is Nathan Barnett, and he is a YouTuber, and on New Year's Day of this year, he made a video titled "Ignore This Video," where he made it seem like he was leaving YouTube. At the end of the video, when he walks off though, who do we see? Dad. Another video he made about this is titled "My Lawyer Made Me Say This," and the end message says that there is something who looks exactly like him, but isn't him. So in this universe, we have someone that looks exactly like him, performing a character he did as a joke a while ago. That's really weird, but also helps me in a way to piece together the story. And as a matter of fact, I think it's time to put this story together. So, let's do this. Okay, a while back someone crash landed down with someone else, who is Emily. They are from Kepler 22b and had a mission to go to CFB DSIR, for reasons that are still shrouded in mystery, but eventually crash landed on Earth. In the world of this ARG, Google is very powerful, and a YouTube server worker found him and took him in, but not his girl, because it is shown that she walked away. Dad awoke in the facility we always see, where he was undoubtedly fed the canned food that erases his memory, and where he was definitely brainwashed into believing that the wife and daughter that we see are his own, even though they are not. Now, this wife and daughter are most likely either actors that are trained to work with biocomputers, or they are already biocomputers themselves. The neighbor is an actor, and the only reason why he speaks is so that Dad will speak to normal people better, because at the end of the day, this is all an experiment by Google. Google wants their entertainment to feature biocomputers instead of actual people. Why biocomputers? Because it is shown that they can control them, and with their main goal being power, they want to control all that they can. But Dad isn't a human being, at least not one from our planet, and isn't training as easily, so this is why his memories sometimes return to him. One thing I can't really answer is the connection Dad has to Nathan Barnett. If he came from another planet, why does he look exactly like Nathan? And why does he take after his character? I'm not entirely sure, but I have found a possible connection, and it involves his name, Andon, which as we said means other. Is he called other because he is the other Nathan? That sounds like it makes sense, but again, how is that possible? Wow, that was an absolute mouthful, and we definitely still didn't figure everything out, but hopefully with time as new videos release, we learn more. I'm fairly confident about the analysis here, but for now, this file is undetermined, but maybe someday when the story concludes, we can debunk it. On YouTube at least, in the horror sphere, ARGs are one of the premier forms of storytelling and are very popular, especially right now. In case you are new, an ARG stands for an alternate reality game, and is basically a story that often uses the real world as their platform and is fueled by viewer interaction. Some very popular notable ones today would be The Sun Vanished on Twitter and Local 58 on YouTube, just to name a few. Now today we aren't here to talk about one single ARG in specific, but what we are going to do is delve into the history of ARGs as a whole. And before we begin, I'd love to shout out Ali Original for giving us this wonderful idea, and I would also like to thank Lucifer is Love for helping us heavily with the researching. But now, with all the shoutouts out of the way, let's talk about the history of ARGs. ARGs have been around long before YouTube, believe it or not. It's commonly believed that the idea for the ARG actually derived from those old choose-your-own-adventure books, and when you think about it, that really does make a lot of sense, but to my knowledge, the first ever actual ARG started way back in the late 1970s. In 1976, a novel was titled Masquerade. In the book, it contained images that sparked a treasure hunt by giving clues that brought you to a supposed golden hair. This, like most ARGs, was incredibly cryptic and took a whole 6 years for anyone to find. The man who found it was named Kent Thomas, who supposedly found it out of sheer luck. After finding the prize, he took a picture with the author of the novel, and it was kinda strange to say the least. He's completely covering a face and has a pretty strange, very fake looking mustache on. Now, being the first ARG, this one also had a phenomenon which is unfortunately very common with ARGs today, and that is a game jacker. A game jacker is someone who tries to capitalize off people that are invested in an ARG and tell their own narrative. These are in just about every case done in a significantly lower quality. In the case of the Masquerade ARG, that definitely reigns true. You see, after Kent Thomas won the prize, he capitalized off it by forming a company named Hairsoft, and created a game for basically all home computers titled Hair Razor Prelude, which, like the novel, it was a giant puzzle and you could either receive the hair itself or $30,000. The catch, however, was that this game wasn't just hard like the original puzzle, it was straight up impossible, and to make matters worse, it was overpriced for the time. Sometime later, Hair Razor Finale was released for the same price as the original, and if you wanted to solve the puzzle, it was mandatory. So we had 2 games released that were wildly overpriced to capitalize off the novel, and oh yeah, the puzzle itself was essentially impossible to figure out. So in short, Kent Thomas was a game jacker that won the prize and made his own puzzle to cash grab off of it. But what if I told you it gets even worse? Well, supposedly there were this group of people before Kent that actually correctly figured out the entire puzzle, but for some reason when they dug, they just barely missed the treasure. Kent saw them there digging off of pure coincidence, found the treasure, and became the winner, so he didn't really find the puzzle. It then came out that Kent Thomas wasn't even a real name, and was just a pseudonym for a man named Dougal Thompson, which explains the strange disguise. Dougal Thompson was apparently a business partner with a man named John Gard, and John lived with a lady named Veronica Robinson. Now, Veronica at the time was the girlfriend to the man that thought up the entire puzzle, and while she didn't know the exact location, she knew it was Ampthil. Dougal effectively manipulated Veronica into falsely finding the prize, and then game-jacked the entire thing. So that concludes the first ever ARG. Of course, there's much more to the story than that, but that's just a basic synopsis of what went down. Another very early example of an ARG is known as The Secret, and it was a treasure hunt in 1982. It started off much like the aforementioned ARG as a novel by Byron Preiss, and unlike the other book, this one is much more on the nose with how it presents itself, as on the first page it literally says, "Welcome, we've been expecting you. You are about to embark on a fantastic adventure." And the book was not wrong. Byron traveled across the United States before publishing the novel and hid 12 separate treasures, all in completely different locations. Whenever a treasure was found, there was a safety deposit box that he made and would open for you, and it was full of prizes, largely consisting of jewels and other things that you would expect to hear in a fantastical novel. In the novel, he also gave lore. Apparently, there were 12 tribes called the Fair People, each consisting of different races of creatures, whether that be goblins, dragons, or anything in between. Centuries ago, these tribes searched for a new home and stumbled across North America, and they each had a gemstone. Eventually, the humans showed up, invading, which made the fair men revert to hiding. Eventually a truce was made where the fair men would come out of hiding and live in harmony, but the humans had to find the gemstones, and we still haven't found nearly all of them yet. So far, only 2 have been found. One was in Chicago a few years after the book's release, and after that, it would be decades before the next one was found. It was so long, in fact, that Byron simply moved on to other projects and forgot all about it. That was until 2004, where at long last, another one was finally found. Unfortunately though, this ARG does not have a happy ending, as in 2005, Byron was tragically taken from us in a car accident. Because of this, and a multitude of other reasons, this ARG will probably never be completed. Not only are the treasures unbelievably hard to find, but since the 80s, there have been changes in landscaping, and Byron himself was the only person who truly know where they all were. But let's look on to the more positive side. This ARG took inspiration from The Masquerade and ran with it, and was also the first case of a world being created within our own, and that was something that almost every ARG after it did, and still do today. If you couldn't yet tell, a lot of the very early ARGs were treasure hunts that took place in the real world and included real prizes. But let's look at a different one. One about video games. One titled Polybius. Yes, believe it or not, the ultra-popular Polybius is actually an ARG. It revolved around something in our real world, in this case an arcade cabinet in Portland, Oregon, and we were on a search to find out if it was real or not. So yeah, it's most definitely an ARG, and is an incredibly influential one, as it was the first known ARG ever about a video game, as the start of it began in 2000. This ARG most definitely inspired Petscop and countless other video game ARGs out there. Around this time, the internet was becoming very popular, and when you look today, almost every single ARG is online, but one of the first ones to ever do it was Ong's Hat. Now, a bit of backstory. ARGs revolving around various media already happened quite a bit around this time, as just a few years earlier the Blair Witch Project did one, and that was also a very influential one. But this one might have been even more influential. Blair Witch is known as being the first one to ever be online, which is a huge deal because practically all ARGs are online nowadays. But Ong is very significant because it was the first ARG ever to be independent. It wasn't made by any large companies, just some random people. Now, as seen with the Blair Witch Project, ARGs were being made to promote movies, and one simply called The Beast was created to promote the film AI Artificial Intelligence. The premise of the game is that there is a character named Janine Sala who investigates her friend's death and discovers a cover-up involving murders and artificial intelligence. Clues were hidden in the film's trailers, ads, posters, and more, and it is widely regarded as being the first horror ARG ever, which again is a huge deal. This ARG was such a success that people wondered if the movie could even match the interest in the game, and it didn't. Now that ARGs have evolved to the online world, let's talk about where the vast majority of them lie, That, of course, is YouTube. To my knowledge, the first ever ARG on YouTube is actually a very popular one, and that is Lonely Girl 15. This ARG started off innocently as it began with just a girl making videos with her webcam, but quickly evolved into a massive story with multiple characters and multiple channels. Not only was this the first YouTube ARG as mentioned earlier, but it was the first truly viral channel on YouTube, as articles like the New York Times reported about it, and it was the first channel that showed that YouTube wasn't just a place for stupid little videos. It was a place of endless creativity, a place to start basically making an entire interactive show, and, even better, to make money. The Human Pet was another one. That started late in 2006 and was the first truly terrifying one, as it revolved around a human pet, a person that was held captive against his will by some insane dude. Probably the most important revelation here is that it birthed the first ever video on YouTube about what ARGs were. Someone was so interested in the human pet that he felt he needed to explain ARGs for people in general. This showed the rising popularity that ARGs were going through on YouTube at the time. Another early ARG on YouTube was the Wyoming incident. This ARG revolved around supposed TV hacking, which apparently caused the very few people that saw it in Wyoming to get sick and vomit. This was another ARG that used multiple different channels and even a forum to get its messages across. This one is also incredibly influential, as it was the first ARG about a TV hack, which is relatively common trend now, especially with Local 58 and the other ARGs that spawned since. And the next ARG up to bat is probably still the biggest ARG of all time, Marble Hornets. This ARG is so big that even years ago, way before I knew what an ARG actually was, I still knew what Marble Hornets was. This was the ARG about Slenderman, and while it wasn't what made him a household name, I don't think he would have truly been as huge as he was without the series. This ARG started a whole wave of Slenderman ARGs, and some of those were influential as well. This ARG started the use of video distortion, which is used in practically every ARG nowadays. Now, it didn't do it nearly as intense as Meat Sleep did, but it is the one that started the trend of using distorted sound effects, and in the ARG world that is literally used like everywhere. And those are the very influential early ARGs out there. These would all set the groundworks that practically all ARGs follow. But in the modern age, there are still plenty of ARGs that took from these, added their own spin on it, and then became incredibly influential themselves. Meat Sleep is a prime example of this, as it took the distortion that Marble Hornet started and turned it up a million notches. Now, it's hard to stumble across an ARG that doesn't feature distorted audio and filmmaking nowadays. We've also got Petscop, an ARG that took the "this game does not exist" formula from Polybius and ran with it, creating their own thing, which is now inspiring tons of other ARGs about games that never even existed. Taking from the TV hacking we saw in the Wyoming incident, we now have Local 58, an ARG about a really creepy TV program, which again is inspiring tons of other ARGs from it. There is one new type of ARG that truly began very recently, that as far as I know, didn't take inspiration from anything before it, and that is the Twitter ARGs. This all began with The Sun Vanished, and it was a genius idea. Tweets are very small and easy to digest, so it really was a perfect idea to tell your story using Twitter, and especially with the inclusion of polls, it really was a match made in heaven, as the interaction element of these became very easy to do there. And there we have it. That was the history of ARGs. We have kind of alluded to this, but unfortunately, a lot of ARGs today really aren't doing anything new. A lot of them are just taking things from these aforementioned ARGs and aren't really adding anything interesting to the table. Every now and then, though, a huge revelation is made as things like the Sun Vanish only happened last year. That leads me to wonder, what other marvelous revelations will happen in the ARG world in the future?
For years, we've been itching for that next web series to come around and really give us a surprise. And for even longer than that, we were wondering if it was even possible anymore. And this isn't even because of our admittedly overused phrasing of how almost all ARGs actually suck anyways. That was a type of thinking that we definitely got too used to saying out loud. Truthfully, the reason why Jiff and I wondered whether a web series could ever scare us again was because of our maturation on the internet to begin with. And this is something that I think could be understandable to some. As funny as it sounds, when we were first making videos on this channel, we weren't necessarily gullible, but more so not that knowledgeable. The first time we saw Meat Sleep, the crux of the video revolved around whether what we were watching was actually real or not, instead of specifically figuring out what the ARG meant. And that's because we didn't even really know what an ARG was when we first started this channel. After we did know, we still approached every well-done ARG with the feeling in the back of our head, well, what if this is real?
A smaller channel in the far reach of YouTube, Ryoma is probably the strangest and freakiest ARG I've ever seen, and that we have ever covered.
Again, it's funny to think about now, but that precisely was the main reason ARGs originally got under our skin. And well, with the knowledge we have now, that of course doesn't happen anymore. But thinking about it deeper, it's kinda like a horror movie. When we watch one, we know that the movie itself is not real, but hey, it can still scare you sometimes despite that. You just gotta find the right one. And that leads us to today. For the first time in over 2 years, we have found a web series that I really think is quite effective, and I really missed it. The channel is known as Boisvert. As of writing this video, there are only 14 videos, and without further ado, we're simply going to go through all of them and attempt to figure out what it all means. So, sit back, relax, and let's finally delve into a web series once again. The first video is simply titled Take Care, and it does a very good job at introducing us to the style in which these videos will be in. Take a watch. As you can see, it follows a specific character really trying to live without thinking about his terrifying neighbor downstairs. And at the end we are finally introduced to this neighbor, and well, it definitely doesn't disappoint. The startling random change in art style almost reminds me of something out of Courage the Cowardly Dog. However, even beyond that, there's definitely a question to ask already with this first video, and that is simply, what was the entity saying? It was a very quiet whisper that is hard to make out, but it has since been revealed through listening to it closely. The entity seems to be saying, do you know what day it is? When did you last go outside? When did you last see your friends, your family? With these lines, we can already make out some very definite themes, but let's watch a few more of the videos before we really start talking about them. The second video on the channel is titled, Tenant Demo for a Game Which Will Never Exist. It begins with a hand holding up a supposed lost NES game, and then the rest of the video is simply playing it. The graphics of the game are really creepy and remind me of bootlegs of the time, and the goal of the game seems to be about paying him a visit, and by the time the video ends, you do just that. The third video, entitled In the Walls, takes on a first-person perspective in what seems like a fight, and by the video's end, it's apparent that this fight did not go well. While watching it, I can't help but feel that there may be some sort of connection between this video and the Tenant game. One man going down a long walkway and seeing a black figure. They both share that in common, except this is of course not in a game. The next video, They Don't Know, is a play on the popular meme template of the same name. For those unfamiliar, the They Don't Know meme typically depicts somebody pretty uncomfortable at a party, and the people at the party don't know something about him, which is usually where the comedy comes from. In this one, we see a monster standing in a room, yet somehow the average person doesn't know about this monster. Another thing that is very thematically important to keep in mind. What's interesting to note, the monster in this video looks a lot like the triangle-headed monster we've seen in the past, but it does actually seem to be a different creature, and we see this one again in the future as well. Burning.mp4 is when things really start making sense. Take a watch for yourself.
You're still died. You're bargaining as you breathe. You're still in the base. Yeah. Breathed in flames.
Thankfully, as you saw with enabling subtitles, everything here is able to be understood. But regarding the actual contents here, it's becoming clear that this monster in the basement is quite representative of overall feelings of negativity and depression. This video seems to discuss feeling unable to leave your home, and even watching people enjoy their lives outside of it, which only makes you feel worse. It tackles feelings of repetition that you feel trapped in during these feelings, and well, seemingly feelings of creative burnout too. The freak out at the end seems to represent the sheer frustration that falling into these feelings gives you. It's sadly relatable, so let's see if the videos continue down this path. Continue seems to pick back up in the game setting, but it quickly falls apart and decays into madness when the continue button winds up creating some very unprecedented results. I Met a Beautiful Angel is the video up next, and it is the most cryptic, yet possibly fascinating video on the entire channel. It's also the one video so far that genuinely has ARG elements, as it features codes and other cryptic messages all over the video. The video starts with some repetitive imagery that seems to show that this black figure with the outstretched hand is likely the same one we have seen in the past. When he stretches out his hand, a message comes out, which is the name of a Bible verse, Corinthians 13:11. If you look at the verse, it says, "When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, reason like a child. When I became a man, I did away with childish things." After this message is said, we seem to be introduced to a new figure, before it cuts back to the figure that we know, where it shows us another Bible verse, this one being Proverbs 20:11. Even small children are known by their actions. So is their conduct really pure and upright? Following this, another figure is introduced, looking quite similar to the other one, before cutting very quickly back to our figure's hands again, where another Bible verse is shown for a fraction of a second, this one being Romans 3:23. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. The next part is the one that personally stumped me the most, and that is the actual conversation, and who is even speaking when.
A chasm appears upon the face of my watch. My past decapitated, I search blindly for what I will not find. Blinded by your own hand, as surely as if you had held the burning iron. 1,000 decisions made in the name of a desecrated existence. Look up from your watch and tell me when you will grant forgiveness to the one most 'Tis deserved.
It seems to me that this first speaker is actually the main figure we know, even though he looks quite different than usual. The way in which they both speak is quite cryptic too. A chasm appears upon the face of my watch, my past decapitated. I search blindly for what I will not find. What exactly he is searching for is relatively unclear. However, if we're rolling with the themes we've established in the previous videos, it's certainly possible that it's simply happiness or meaning. The angel then says, "Blinded by your own hand, as surely as if you had held the burning wire, 1,000 decisions made in the name of your desaturated existence. Look up from your watch and tell me when you will grant forgiveness to the one most lacking." Now, what was the angel talking about exactly? To be honest, it's not 100% clear. To me, it seems to be calling out the figure's current behaviors and decision-making. Perhaps saying that the way in which you live should never be that way and is only culminating in your desaturated, or in other words, dull life. Basically letting these feelings of negativity wind up muddying your behaviors, and can really take a massive toll on your existence. Who exactly the figure should be granting forgiveness to is also very much unclear, but the only person I can think of is simply yourself. The title and description of this video is also quite noticeable, as they help create a complete sentence. The title again is, "I Met a Beautiful Angel," and the description reads, "And he told me something I did not want to hear." If we were going with the established theory we have come up with here, it's entirely possible that the harsh form of advice regarding feelings of depression that this angel gives definitely isn't something that you would want to hear when you are feeling that way. Following all of that, we have The Complex. This video is extremely notable because it finally gives us a name drop for one of the creatures in the series. Through text that very quickly gets scribbled out, it says, "The quilled god rages and destroys the rope which held him aloft." The following video is entitled deepwebheatwave.files.vid.xtk. The video itself isn't too notable, it just shows us a very creepypasta-esque website, but towards the end we do see multiple QR codes, and well, let's see where they go. Well, there are a lot, and the majority of them just seem to be stills from other videos. But there is one very notable one which features hexadecimal code. It shows an image of somebody holding a knife, and the code translates to, "I will come for you." It's what he would have wanted. After this, we have Entirely Beloved, one of the most interesting videos of them all so far. As we saw, this video starred the triangular-headed person again, except the one that was in They Don't Know, not the first video in Burning.mp4. Like all the other videos featuring them, it seems to give feelings of melancholy, yet of course creepiness too.
I have seen it. I have heard of it.
To me, this video seems to be about the true connection and the lack of this experience the triangular figure has experienced. The figure mentions seeing and hearing of this phenomenon, and also laments on how this feeling bridges the chasm, or draws you closer. You experience mutual feelings. When mentioning that it has sought something out, I don't think it's referring to a specific person, like many that have watched this video seem to conclude. Instead, I think it's about the concept of love as a whole. It's tried to experience it, but for some reason, it feels it can't. Due to the common themes of anxiety and self-doubt shown in the previous video, this makes sense. As it ends, we even see it say the word love.
I am immobilized. And when you come near, detaching yourself from those with everything, you will see in my eyes fear.
The next video is Consequences, and it seems to majorly pick up on more themes of isolation. Once again, Triangle Head's feelings on isolation are extremely negative.
I
He mentions not being able to take it any longer, and also mentions how empty and cold being stuck inside this long is.
This is my home. It is empty. It is cold.
The most interesting part may reside within the visuals this time though. At the very start, when everything is disordered, we see that there is a dot on Triangle Head's face, and in the background there are multiple other faces, suggesting other people. To me, this seems like a nod at the fact that Triangle Head's feelings are not exclusive to him. Many people think and deal with the same sorts of things he does, especially today. This video also features a QR code, and this time it takes us to an unlisted video, with just a dot as its title. Here we see another character we've seen before, this time talking about the fact that not everybody will experience love at all in their life, and how sad that really is. The next video, Prelude, Angels_Warning, as you may have guessed, features the return of the angels, and it's just as creepy as ever.
And it was said unto them that this was the price to be paid, a complex unending, but there beyond all measure. In despair, they left, not in sorrow but bitterness, the avarice of their blind promise.
This one really seems to take the previously mentioned word of complex and really makes it its focal point. To really clear everything up so it all makes sense, a complex is, well, any similar group of things that connect together, and when the phrase is used, it's usually referring to buildings or prisons. In this series, I definitely think the term complex goes deeper. Throughout all these videos, there's one thing that is certain. All these characters we have seen are facing similar struggles. They all seem to be isolated, and they all seem to be melancholic and lonely. The complex here seems to be the connection that these beings share, that of being trapped and isolated. Zoning Ordinance is next, and it is the single longest video in the entire series. The vast majority of it seems to portray a fight that many of the characters we have seen before partake in with each other. At one point though, things do calm down, and we see Triangle Head begin speaking with someone, where it seems to confirm our previous points with what the complex really means here.
Can you picture an empty room with yourself at the center? Answer me quickly and honestly. Can you picture an empty room with yourself at the center? I don't know. Is there still enough space in the hallway to continue? I don't know. The complex is an aberration, yet you have treaded a hole within yourself that only it may fill. Do you know what you must do? I don't. Cry out. Cry out. For there is slaughter in the New Jerusalem. Cry out, so that one may ignore.
After the conversation, Triangle Head rips the face of the person he was talking to and puts it on his own head, which allows him to easily defeat all the other people in the fight, ending the video. Most interesting, the complex is referred to as an aberration, or not normal. In this specific instance, the overwhelming loneliness all the characters feel may not be as a result of a usual circumstance. Despite this though, it's said that damage has been done that may be extremely difficult to reverse. And at long last, we've reached the final video, at least at our time of writing. It's called Ashes.mp4. This is one of the more mysterious videos in its meaning. It shows the Horned Man again working on something, and then shows multiple very quick cuts of the woods where a creature on all fours is walking towards the camera. This reminds me of the very first video, of those negative feelings creeping and looming up, threatening to take over. We also have another QR code that flashes for a fraction of a second towards the very end, and this one leads to another unlisted video, this again having the title of Just a Dot. This video seems to show a bleeding creature and even features singing at the very end.
Why don't you go where you can see and you can follow? It's a hard, tough pill to swallow, but in time you will see that there's so much more of me.
For a quick update, there was actually one more video that came out after we finished writing, so we're quickly going to discuss that here too. This video is titled Narrowing, and it is a short one, but nevertheless, it's intriguing all the same. It seems to be themed to a dialogue exchange in a game, and at the start we see that it is Triangle Head speaking with another being. About 9 seconds in, there is a pretty massive piece of text that flashes for just a second, and if you do catch it, it says, "Frankly, it isn't worth your time. Yes, he thinks like that. He always has, and he always will. Fuck him." You've completely missed the point, after so many attempts to show you. It's impressive, really. Enough of this. If you had something to say to me, then say it. I've endured these half measures for years now. You already understand. I will kill you. I will crush your head against the pavement. I almost killed a beautiful dog earlier and took a break to last a lifetime. I can't keep indulging in this. The rest of the video pretty much follows suit in this same sentiment. This being once again seems to be calling out Triangle Head's behavior, and Triangle Head seems to be responding aggressively. There's also some sign language at the end of it that people have been attempting to translate, but I've seen a surprising high number of interpretations for it, so I'm not going to trust any of them just yet, being that I myself do not know sign language. And with this 30-second video out of the way, we are now all caught up. So what does this series all mean? Well, as we've been alluding, it seems to fixate itself on isolation and the negative feelings that come with either doing that or what leads one to do that in the first place. There are a multitude of different characters in the videos, and while it is cool to attempt to track down every single thing they do in these videos, I think the point is that they are all inherently going through the same thing in one way or another. The complex is this group of characters. They may be different, but they are also one and the same when it comes to these experiences. The series also makes a point that these feelings of isolation are also vastly increased due to a specific event, and well, in recent memory, what have we all been dealing with? Lockdowns, resulting in isolation. This is the unusual circumstance that was mentioned. All we can hope to do is fight off these negative feelings, the monsters creeping into our consciousness. Maybe then we can finally get past this dark time in our life, as a group, as a complex. What happens when you take the world of music and then put an ARG behind it? Truthfully, this is not a new concept. Probably the most famous case of these was by the group 9 Inch Nails, who made an ARG for their album Year Zero. But beyond that, there was also a very familiar recent one to any of you that are longtime viewers, that being Rhoda. Now, we're not going to give an entire lesson of musical ARGs throughout history, though maybe that is something we could do someday, but the point is, these were mostly all ARGs to help promote albums for very famous artists. But tonight we have found a musically related ARG from a very unexpected place, that does not at all play out like any of these, that unexpected place being TikTok, where one of the single most strangest and interesting ARGs we have ever seen lies. This page is known as Ecology Homestones. With foreboding, seemingly confusing description, it seems to look like any other ARG, but as we'll see with the videos, this one truly is something else. As we go to the very first post on the page, it seems to show a baby's head whispering to the camera something that seems to be pretty unintelligible. Something else that is strange is the date between these initial posts. This post was from all the way back in early 2019, but when we go to the next post, we are all the way in January of this year, where things now will continue much more consistently. A very strange break and startup to have. In this post, it seems to depict some strange static coming from the poster's pedal, where whenever they press it, it just begins playing music. This trend would continue on quite often in the future, but one post would eventually happen that changes absolutely everything. On March 4th, this post would be made. The description says, "The throbbing remains of Robert 3 of 8, a carrot farmer." People naturally asked some really understandable questions, such as, "What?" To which the poster replied by saying, "Robert 3 of 8, a mutilated carrot farmer that functions as a visual aid for the live noise performances of Ecology Homestones." Many other people asked what happened to the other 7, to which the poster replied in various ways, some of which by saying, "1 lives in a flotation tank, 2 and 4 I haven't seen before, they'll be around soon enough, and the other 7 will be around shortly." As the videos continue, we get to see more of whatever Robert 3 is and its behaviors. We see how it loves flower treats, and how it does this thing called decubing, where it spits out hard blue cubes. Truly, the thought put into the creatures in this world would rival that of Ridley Scott. The comments do continue to be extremely helpful, because the creator straight up answers every single question that people ask. One of the most notable ones ever had someone saying, "Seriously though, what is this thing?" To which they said, "EHS is retelling an unnecessarily vague and silly story about a gnome called Cheapskate obliterating 8 carrot farmers named Robert. This sounds ridiculous and almost like it could just be humor, but believe it or not, this is actually the case." Eventually, we get to know even more about Robert, and even how it works. I'm not sure if this is evolution or just us seeing it on camera for the first time, but we see Robert speak to us, talking about its lack of memories.
Didn't even know my mother's name, where I'd gone to school, the name of my best friend, whether I had an Aunt Emma or not, my religion, and if I'd ever owned a dog.
As the description shows, this is likely due to Cheapskate. And speaking of Cheapskate, there is a video of the creator attempting to summon Cheapskate in the woods, to no avail. We even see them playing Robert 3's mother lullabies to help it sleep, giving unexpected emotion and depth to the story here. It definitely fleshes out this all, if you catch my drift. Something else the creator makes extremely apparent is the fact that Robert 3 and all the other Roberts are sadly in an immense amount of pain this way, even simply existing. While it is great that they can live on and even aid in creating some amazing things, it is by no means painless at all. One of the most famous posts on the entire page shows the OP and Robert 3 playing piano together. In the comments of this one, they also mention that Cheapskate did this all the way back in 1778. One of the strangest videos on the entire channel has the OP answering a question from someone about what the liquid on Robert 3 was when he was decubing. Apparently it is called weeping venom, and this is what it does.
Now, I know this sounds silly, but Ecology Homestones is about carrots. Hopefully, this will make that clear for everyone.
Eventually, we finally get to see Robert 5 in his terrifying glory. In a future video, we get to hear him talk too, specifically about the gnome that destroyed his life.
Robert, man, I don't know what's real anymore. The little gnome f***ed my life up so bad. I don't know what's real anymore.
But then, after all this time, Cheapskate's house is finally found. But we can't see all of him, we can see a hand. Now he also takes the cube that Robert 3 made. What this means for the future of everybody here will be incredibly interesting to see unfold, that's for sure. Back to Robert 3, we see that his defining process is beginning to produce darker cubes, and whether that is related to Cheapskate taking some of the previous or not is unknown, but it is nonetheless noteworthy. As far as the actual story goes, this is about as far as it has gone. As the page has said multiple times from the beginning, I suppose this is really a painfully slow retelling of such an out there story, but despite this, it is a really fascinating one and one of the most interesting ARGs I've seen in a while. While the answer seems pretty clear, on a different social media the owner themselves laid out a more extensive description for what all of this truly meant, and it reads as follows.
EHS is an audio-visual noise project started in 2020 by the FPPC. Now, I know this sounds silly, but Ecology Homestones is about carrots. Hopefully this will make that clear for everyone. Beginning in 1778, a competitive gnome named Cheapskate initiated a campaign of torment upon 8 very sleepy carrot farmers, all of whom were coincidentally named Robert. This playful assault fell upon the Roberts and in the form of 8 violence-based challenges. The winner would be crowned as the Bride of Ouchie. For the rest, an eternity of unimaginable wickedness. Imagine a long wet floor of endless tile, the grout lousy with the innumerable crawling misfortunes of birthday. No one likes it. Secrets were kept. The true nature and rule structure of the gnome's competitions were a mystery to everyone but the gnome. Because of this advantage, and the gnome's 4 black peppercorn eyes which controlled the shape and temperature of salt, the gnome, Cheapskate, obliterated the Roberts. Now, at least 2 years later, or 3 or something, a different thing is happening, and it is tangentially related to that other stuff I said. You need to know this. Didn't your friends tell you? You see, there's something out to get you, and it's just as stupid as you are.
This gives better detail towards the story than we had before, but it also highlights an aspect we hadn't gotten into much yet, and that is the musical aspect. As you may have noticed, every single video features noisy sounds, and a lot of those early videos featured man-made instruments to make specific noises. At the end of the day, above everything, this is a musical project. These creatures all seem to be reactive to noise, and as we've seen from this musical project on footage from live shows, it looks like these things all appear in the live shows, almost like some horrific noise version of the gorillas. The music has an amazing level of talent on display, both visually and audibly. Truthfully, this really is the best combination of different mediums. You can see inspiration from a background in horror with these genuinely impressive practical effects, and the story itself. Though over the top and even ridiculous, it's told in a very effective way that somehow demands that we take a killer gnome named Cheapskate seriously, and that takes some skill to do. And as for the musical side of it all, though we haven't seen many music-related ARGs before, as we said, these were mostly just advanced and creative marketing campaigns. While this ARG is definitely effectively promoting the original music that this creator is making, it does seem to be more than just purely a promo piece. Overall, an ARG like this is one that I'm sure to keep my eyes peeled out for, to see where this interesting story goes next. The world that was created here is one that I surely won't look away from anytime soon, and I at least know that if I somehow get mugged by a gnome in the middle of the night, I'll be able to come back as a music star.